You have one new message.
Hi, Claire. Auntie Dee here. I just wanted to say a big thank you for skipping my party. We had a great night, and everyone was so happy you didn't come. Now you take care. I hope to see you soon. Bye.
No one will thank you for turning up to work or anything else when you're sick. Stay at home and get a test to protect yourself and others from COVID-19. From the HSE, for us all.
Get your tyres ready for winter. Call into Ulster Tyres in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet today.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning. 4 minutes past 9 on this Monday, the 1st of November. And you're very welcome along to the 9 till Noon Show. Hope you enjoyed your Halloween weekend, if you were able to. And I suppose now, whether we like it or not, we're going to be full on Christmas season, aren't we? Adverts everywhere and maybe even Mariah Carey popping up here and there. But anyway, for now, we're still November the 1st here on this show. And we have a busy show lined up for you as well. Lots to talk about, and we want you getting involved in the conversation. You can do so by WhatsApping the programme. 086 60 25,000, that's for your SMSs as well. 086 60 25,000. Give us a call on 074 91 25,000, 074 91 25,000, and your emails to comments@highlandradio.com. And good morning if you're joining us on our social media. We're broadcasting live across our Facebook pages and on YouTube. Feel free to go on and watch the show there, interact with us there. And Annie already saying hello to us on Facebook. Good morning to you, Annie. And you can go on YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland, and like and subscribe and so on and so forth. Right. The newspapers this morning. Derry People Donegal News. Historic day for LYIT. The president of LYIT says the establishment of a new technological university for the West Northwest will help to attract more foreign direct investment into the region. The new third-level facility has been given the green light by Higher Education Minister Simon Harris and will see the amalgamation of the Connacht Ulster Alliance, Letterkenny IT, Sligo IT and GMIT. The new TU will offer almost 600 academic programmes from pre-degree to doctoral level to student population of over 20,000 students across 8 campuses, including Letterkenny and Killybegs, of course. The Derry News tells us this morning that a more proactive approach to A-level Irish language provision is to be taken by Derry City and Strabane District Council. The move follows the adoption of a motion on the issue brought before the monthly meeting of the local authority by Councillor Gary Donnelly. On to the nationals now. The Irish Independent tells us that the number of healthcare staff missing work due to COVID-19 has almost doubled to 3,500 in just 10 days. HSE Chief Clinical Officer Dr. Colm Henry has said hospitals are under pressure with the rising cases and the increase in socialising as a result of the easing of restrictions. On October 22, there were 1,800 HSE staff out due to COVID around the country, and University Hospital Limerick and Galway University Hospital had to cancel surgeries. At that point, wards had to be closed in some cases due to the increase in COVID-19 patients at a time of growing levels of respiratory illness and emergency attendances. But the number of ill healthcare workers has continued to climb, and calls for healthcare workers to be given COVID-19 booster shots. Now, NIAC are meeting today. They're under a great deal of pressure from the government to fast track the rollout of these booster shots for healthcare workers. Some of them, of course, 10 months odd since they received their vaccine. Okay. The Irish Times this morning, the state Chief Medical Officer Dr. Tony Holohan has moved to reassure parents. Now, how reassuring is this for you parents ahead of the return of schools today? Amid a high incidence of COVID amongst children. Dr. Holohan said the National Public Health Emergency Team would continue to monitor the level of disease and review data, the international research and guidance, and to update our services and our advice accordingly. I am conscious that parents and guardians will be concerned about the high level of incidence of COVID-19 amongst the 5 to 12 age group, particularly as children head back to school on Monday after the midterm, he said. But he stressed international evidence showed that in the vast majority of cases, children who become infected with COVID-19 experience mild symptoms or were asymptomatic. And it was said on this show, I said it myself, that when they done away with contact tracing and sort of the close contact rules as it relates to children of this age, effectively we were going into a herd immunity sort of through infection. I mean, that's really how it feels, isn't it? But then they say, look, as we stopped viewing these people as close contacts or contact tracing, and now there's a load of young people 5 to 12 who have this, but now they're saying, look, it'll do them no harm, but it's whether they come home with it to mom and dad or whomever is their carers, who are teachers or not teachers, who are healthcare workers or who are vulnerable in other ways. That's where a lot of people are concerned. Many people aren't concerned either as well, of course. But the public health advice is based on scientific evidence and the direct experience of the pandemic in Ireland. It shows that child-to-child transmission is uncommon in school settings where there are preventative measures in place, like those throughout our schools, he added. So what preventative measures are actually in schools that are catering for 5 to 12, the age groups? These monitors, what happens then? Are the doors wide open? Are the windows wide open? Infectious disease expert Dr. Sam McConkey said he wasn't wildly concerned about children returning to primary school at a time of rising COVID cases, as the virus generally doesn't make them very sick. So that's nice to know what Sam thinks. But as I say, I think a lot of people that have the concerns, they understand that children don't get very sick with this. That's the only thing that's been of any positivity. They really don't. They very, very rarely end up in hospital, and very, very, very rarely end up in a serious condition. But that's not the point, is it? It's about it then being spread from the school environment elsewhere. But anyway, what do you guys think? 086 60 25,000 or call 07491 25,000. The Wild West of social media is facing calls for an immediate crackdown in a powerful Dáil report out tomorrow. This is the Irish Daily Mail. What do you think about this, though? Because, you know, I mean, we are the social media users. Do you think there should be... Do you think someone should have to provide ID before they can go on social media? Do you think that should be the rules? And then, you know, people could use whatever handle they like, but if they were very abusive or what have you, that they could be identified and banned from social media. What do you think about that? But anyway, the Dáil Committee on Media report has written as part of pre-legislation or pre-legislative scrutiny process of the government's much-touted Online Safety and Media Regulation Bill. Amidst growing political concern that an unregulated social media is endangering the safety of public figures, the report will say the creation of an individual complaint mechanism with teeth is now urgently required. Now, I'm not terribly worried about people in the media or politicians being abused on social media. It shouldn't happen. But what was more concerning of me is within, you know, us regular people, that there is an awful lot of fake stuff put up about people, false accusations, bullying, young people being bullied right across their social media platforms as well. That's where I think it's important if they were to crack down on this, to be honest with you. Committee Chairman Niamh Smith, who described social media as the Wild West, said there's a growing consensus that the fake news and harmful social media content based on inciting hate is having a serious impact on young people and eroding the quality of our democracy. She said the report will say that online can no longer be allowed to operate free from scrutiny under the law. And as I say, another byproduct of that is that we need to start speaking to each other and to be friendly to each other again. And I do think that social media has just driven wedges or helped to drive wedges between people within the country, within families, within friendships. You know, people getting divorced over the head of differences on certain matters that are being discussed widely today. And if that can be addressed, perhaps something good could come out of it. The Irish Daily Star, Micheál Martin, said there's no alternative facing the world but to deal with the climate change challenge quickly and urgently. The Taoiseach added it is absolutely essential that every country plays its part in tackling climate change as world leaders gather for the COP26 Global Climate Conference in Glasgow. Mr. Martin described climate issues as an existential threat. Now, of course, it's nice that they're all flying into Glasgow. I couldn't help but noticing a video of President Joe Biden travelling through Glasgow, 19 cars and 3 motorbikes. Now, I'm not sure whether electric or what, but that's quite a carbon footprint, isn't it? And they're gathering to tell us that we need to do more. Now, I know it's not quite as simple as that, but that is how it looks. If you have one person requiring 19 cars and 3 motorbikes, and they're trying to sort of tax you off the road, you know, people are going to push back on that. Now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying they need to sort of maybe lead by example or something. I hope you get the point I'm trying to make. But 23 vehicles to get one person from a hotel to another building is not sending out the right message, I would argue. Micheál Martin said, I believe through research technologies, we can significantly improve our capacity to reduce emissions in agriculture, but also in transport, although it's generally determined that we can't reach the emission reductions in agriculture, given the current technology that's there. But anyway, he goes on to say that every sector of our society will have to contribute to the reduction of emissions. But the parallel side of that is it will create opportunities, it'll create jobs, it'll create a healthier world and a healthier country in Ireland. All right, we'll see. In the Sun today, Lotto bosses are urging players to check their tickets as 42 players won over €23,000 each on Saturday's draw. There were no winner of Saturday's €19 million jackpot, meaning it will now roll over for a 10th time, but over 183,000 players won prizes in Lotto and Lotto Plus draws. Now, what do you think of this? I was moaning about this on social media because I woke up Sunday morning and I was thinking of the millions of euro that the public would have dumped into the Lotto over the weekend, especially with it being 19 million. Like, you know, on average, a lot of people out there probably doing, €6 per draw for the last month or so, even maybe more, I don't know, to try and win this 19 million. And this is after the, I mean, let's not forget the Lotto's privatised now. So, yes, good causes have helped, but not on the scale previously. But all of that money going in, and 42 players just out of a population of 5 million won €23,000. Now, I don't think that's a very fair return for what people are putting into this. 23 grand, like, it's fantastic money, do not get me wrong. But it rolls over again. Now, this is, of course, a privatised lottery. I think one of the biggest investors in it is a pension firm for teachers in Canada. So every time it's not won, they're probably rubbing their hands together because it means more money into their fund. But I just think for regular people here, spending the billions that we do every year on this, the fact that the top prize was €23,000, even though 42 people won that, €23,000. That doesn't. That's not fair, is it? Is it fair? I don't know. What do you think? Again, 086 60 25,000. Give us your say. A lot of people wouldn't even check their tickets for 23 grand. Finally, the Irish Daily Mirror. Gardaí convinced somebody holds the key to solving the mystery of the identity of a man whose body was found on a beach 12 years ago. This is a big Northwest interest, of course. The man, using the false name Peter Bergman, arrived in Sligo on a bus from Derry on June 12, 2009, before his body was found at Ross's Point on June 16th. Following a post-mortem, foul play was ruled out in the case. To this day, he remains unidentified, but investigators who tried to unravel the mystery believed he planned for that to happen. The case was one of a number of featured on Ireland's Unidentified Bodies on Virgin Media 1 last night. I didn't see that programme, but hopefully it helps to provide some answers. It is the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. We'll be back with our first guests on the show in just a couple of moments. Stay tuned.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly's.
Get your tyres winter ready. Drop into Ulster Tyres in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet today.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Did you know the Personal Injuries Assessment Board is Ireland's state body for assessing personal injury claims? We are fair and independent and use the exact same guidelines as the courts to calculate compensation, but our process is nearly 2 years faster on average. Our costs are low too, an average of 20 times lower than the cost of litigation. The Personal Injuries Assessment Board. Similar compensation, faster resolution, fairer for all. Visit piab.ie for more information.
When it comes to pensions, we all need some guidance in making the right decisions. At John F. Lowery Financial Services, you'll get expert advice on all aspects of pension planning, like how much you should contribute, ensuring you're going into the right contract for your employment circumstances, and claiming the tax relief. Our team of highly qualified advisors have access to all the insurance companies, so we truly can be your one-stop pension provider. To arrange a personal consultation, visit jfl.ie or call 9124002. John F. Lowery and Associates Limited, trading as John F. Lowery Financial Services, are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
I'm just going to make another adjustment. that better?
Free hearing aids with PRSI at Specsavers. Music to your ears. Find out more online. Terms and conditions apply.
Highland Radio Time Checks, brought to you by Letterkenny Shopping Centre, the centre of shopping in Donegal. Free parking and shopping all under one roof. Letterkenny Shopping Centre, bringing you the time at
9:18. Now, we read at the weekend that the cap on compensation for house repairs under the Micah redress scheme is to be set at €350,000 with an appeals mechanism for exceptional cases. While more than 7,000 homes along the western seaboard from Donegal will benefit, holiday homes will be excluded from the scheme. The owners will qualify for mediation or remediation funding if they agree to let their properties out for long-term rental for a number of years, senior government sources have indicated. So they're trying to use the Micah scandal and the pressure people might be under to also address the housing situation, which is really seems cruel to me. But anyway, the scheme will also be made accessible to the owners of rental properties. Up to 1,000 of these in Donegal are affected, to avoid exacerbating the housing shortage along the west coast by forcing tenants in Micah-affected properties to seek alternative accommodation. Right now, Michael Doherty, PRO of the Micah Action Group, good morning to you.
Morning, Greg.
Thanks for joining us. I mean, €350,000 cap, I mean, what kind of a scheme might this be?
That would be a very disappointing scheme, Greg, just calling a spade here. We were clear all along that we needed to ensure that we had 100% no less, and that's been our mantra all along here. We have a situation that we know if we come in at 350k of a cap, we leave 40% of our homeowners behind, and that's not an acceptable position to us.
And how is this 350,000 today is a completely different 350,000 from this day last year in terms of, you know, the spiralling costs of construction and what have you? I mean, is it acceptable on any level? But I mean, is it linked to inflation, or do we know any of that detail?
No, we don't have that level of detail, Greg. And I know from inside sources that they were reluctant to link it to make it index linked as well, which is even more concerning. But you're right. There's even the 350k has to be underpinned by two different very important aspects. One of them is we already put together what we call the SCSI calculator, which was basically the mechanism used by the insurance industry to work out the true costs. That's updated every April. We know even since April of this year, things have moved on quite a bit. We had a square foot figure that was agreed per house size or buckets of house sizes between ourselves and the housing agency, not the housing department now, the housing agency. And that figure was agreed at. From what I'm led to believe is they're actually reviewing that number as well. So if that number goes south, that's not good. That means that we're working with something that was less than the April true cost. And the other very important part of that, Greg, is that even with that number is a budget that a homeowner has in their hip pocket to take to the market. And we're seeing some scary numbers coming back from contractors at the minute. So we could have a massive disconnect there on a couple of levels, even at 350k, regardless of what the number is in terms of a cap. If there's a cap at all, it's making it work that we have contractors prepared to work at what is deemed to be the true cost prices by the SCSI calculator. We could still have a massive disconnect there.
How will this impact whether a house is up for demolition? Or now, I think there's not. I wouldn't say it's a consensus, but a general feeling I get, and you know much better than I, that outer leaf is not a solution here. That eventually we'll have to return to the problem and go inner leaf as well. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that one. But is this 350,000 to encourage people to go for other options, or what is that part of it, or what?
Yeah, well, maybe take the first part there, because I think that part's important about the outer leaf, the outer leaf remediation option. We're affected homeowners ourselves. Every one of us is in the campaign, and nobody wants a sort of half-baked solution of any kind. There are homes out there that we know that went ahead and did their own outer leafs, and they're now cracking inside. When we put that to the housing department, their response to that was that it was quite possible, because these blocks were never tested, nobody knows what level of cement content was in them. Nobody knows what level of mica was in them. And if you've got a perfect storm, i.e. low cement content, high mica, then regardless of whether you have got massive cracking or not, the remediation option recommended may well be take that house down. So whenever we go to the housing department and say we've got examples of outer leaves that were changed and the inside is now cracking, they say, well, without testing, we can't say whether our scheme would have recommended an outer leaf or not. It's quite possible those that did an outer leaf would have been recommended for a complete demolish from the off through the scheme if it had been done through the scheme. So that's just to address that. So there is some science still to be applied around that that's yet to be revealed, I believe. And I do believe there's still a need for more research. But even with the work that's been done to date, we can't really point the scheme to houses retrospectively and say, well, outer leaf failed, which means every house has to come down. We just don't know what the testing would have shown if it had been tested. That's the first thing. The second point there, Greg, in around the 350. Sorry, just remind me of the second point again you were making.
I don't know. I was listening to you so intently there. But we'll come back to that, because I think really that you addressed the main point of that question, and it kind of covered the second part of it as well. I just want to know what the process is here, though, because I don't know if this is kite flying or whatever. Who leaked it? What the benefit is to leak it? You know, I would presume that the housing minister, if he wanted to keep this completely under wraps, that he could, he could limit the amount of people that know about this and the finer detail. But for whatever reason, it's been put out into the public domain. Why do you think that's happened? Or do you think it's intentional? I'll put that to you, sorry, Michael, and then I'll bring Martin back in. Martin, I just want to put that point to you, Michael.
Difficult to know. I actually had a phone call. Yeah. I had a phone call from the minister over the weekend there, and he's trying to assure me here that not to get too excited about the numbers that's been shown, that it's still there to play for. I have responded and I've told him I'm increasingly concerned at the level of kite flying that's going on. There are certain things coming through. Stephen O'Brien reported yesterday in the Sunday Times some information in and around, for example, the holiday homes and all of that. And I would like to come back on that one at some point there, Greg, because that was actually a suggestion from ourselves for a good reason, which probably needs explained. But the fact that that was coming back through government channels suggests that their sources are reasonable or reliable. And that would be a great concern, that 350k might actually be what they come forward with. But I think a very important point here is that we don't have a yea or nay on this. The government do not need our sign-off to implement 350k or any other number. All we can do as a lobby group is to put forward the case what we're prepared to support and what we're not. 350 is not what we would be prepared to support, quite simply. But, just so as people are clear, we don't have a place where we sign this off and say, yes, that's acceptable, or no, it's not. Government will do what government are going to do, and we have to react accordingly and then look at the next stage in the campaign on the back of that.
Councillor Martin McDermott, we've talked about how this cap would leave many people behind. It's worrying if this is the culmination of everything that's happened this year, but obviously over the course of the last decade and beyond. This would not be acceptable to you, I presume.
No, I think, Greg, and as Michael has clearly stated there, the 350 leaves 40% of the people behind. That's through the scheme, the first 135 houses that are through the scheme for demolish. So that at 350 leaves families having to dip into their own pockets again to get their houses fixed.
And that's a really important point, because what we've learned time and time again is that it doesn't mean that 40% of the people will get their houses fixed contributing, because they simply do not have the money, or they're being offered really unattractive financial options by their banks. So it leaves people behind completely. They will not be able to engage in this scheme if it's adopted as is being suggested.
No, absolutely. And I suppose again, we're only taking what is printed in the media over the weekend. It's not out that is exactly what's happening. They're talking about an appeals process for houses that are over that amount of money, so that if your house was costing over the 350, that there was an appeals process there. we don't know what that entails, or we don't know how that's going to work. But certainly, from our perspective, it's not what we have been pushing for, and it's not the outcome that we want.
What next? I mean, obviously, you have a meeting a little later on this morning, don't you, with government representatives? I presume that these points will be made very strongly to them.
Absolutely. I mean, look, Greg, this needs to come to an end. We need to get a day that we can get an announcement that works, because people's mental health, people's anxiety. We're coming into a time of year now in November, coming into December, we're coming into Christmas. People have to have hope. People have to get this disaster time behind them and try to look forward and have something to look forward to. And I think that the next few days is vital in this. There's lots of other issues, Greg, as me and you has discussed, and Michael on a number of occasions. There's people, I know I had people on during your programme last week that have been through the scheme and now have found themselves in the position that their house has deteriorated over the last year and a half from they got into the process at the start, going back to April, May of 2020 up to now in late 2021, and they have been through the scheme, and they have been granted a grant to do remedial works that now is not sufficient. So those people can't be left behind either. We have to have a situation that those people can get back into the scheme and can get other remedial works done.
But Michael, I think, thanks, Councillor Michael, I think what might be going on here is, though, that the general population will see that the government has improved the scheme, that a certain amount of people will get their houses fully restored. It'll probably then start a conversation about more expensive houses, and should the state be responsible for that, including holiday homes, including the housing crisis, including rental properties. And I'd imagine that the government will say that this will play out very well for them, for the mass population, albeit not for those directly affected by that. Would you share that fear?
Yeah, I do, Greg, and I think we've seen them dipping their toe in the water in terms of public opinion throughout the land already. The pitching homeowner against homeowner regarding those not affected, paying for those that are affected. This stuff about the mansions on the hill type stuff, which we were able to dispel as well. We've had many things thrown out there already that we've had to come back with facts on. It's been embarrassingly poor that our government have found it appropriate to launch these various accusations and statements of fact that were an actual, couldn't be further from the fact. And we as a lobby group have done very, very well in dispelling all that stuff. But I think the reality is, right, they'll be looking for a scheme that not necessarily addresses the majority need of the homeowner, but is palatable to the majority of the people in the land. And I think that's, again, part of the shame of this entire process.
I mean, we don't have time, unfortunately, to talk.
How little can they get away with?
Yeah, I don't think we have time to talk about what's next. You guys have another appointment, but we're going to have to come back to this, obviously, as we do. Yeah. But I'll let you go, because I do understand that. Yes.
Yeah. Greg, just if I can come in very quickly on the holiday home one there.
No, it's your meeting. You can stay here till 10.
Yeah.
Carry on.
That's okay.
I'm not worried about that. Carry on.
They can wait. We've been waiting for 10 years for them. So where we are on the holiday home one, Greg, quite simply, is that the scheme originally was principal private residence only. The Leinster Pyrite scheme was either principal private residence or your buy to let, but not both. We have asked for an enhancement on the Pyrite one, which is not the holiday home. We have asked for the principal private residence plus the buy to let people. Okay, so we think we have that fairly well secured, but we do not want to leave the holiday homeowners behind. Back to your point earlier regarding the public opinion throughout the land there, they seem to be hell bent on not giving these trophy homeowners with holiday homes public finance to go ahead and repair their Mike-affected holiday home. So what we did, we were told that was absolutely a no-go area. So in the interest of trying to make it a somewhat go area, we said, what about trying to address the housing crisis we've got up here? Because they're talking about buying in mobile homes, they're talking about building modular homes, all at great expense. And yet, if I take my own wee village of Kildare, there's probably about 80 holiday homes and nobody in it. And I'm going, this doesn't make sense. So what can we do to utilise that capacity that's available
and I get that, and
in that market?
I get that, and it's a good idea. It's just, it just feels to me a wee bit like you're leveraging people, you know, to fix the housing crisis when really they just want their holiday homes. You know, that sort of way. I mean, like, that's what feels a little bit uncomfortable for me, Michael. You know?
When we get into these negotiation stages, though, Greg, we never get what's ideal. And the holiday homeowners that I've talked to already would say, yeah, if you're telling me I have to put out my home for, say, 3 years to the rental market, and then I qualify automatically at the end, not as a holiday home anymore, because you put your home into the rental market, you're then seen as part of the rental sector. That's how it can work for those that want it. Now, those that don't want to do that, unfortunately, I don't have any answers for.
Right, I get you. It's a half a loaf is better than no bread at all kind of a situation. Right, I get that. Thanks for your time, Michael, this morning. I appreciate it greatly. And Councillor Martin McDermott. That's Michael Doherty, PRO of the Micro Action Group. Councillor Martin McDermott there as well. 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts. Hi, Terry. Good morning to you.
Hey, good morning to you, Greg.
What's your view on all of this?
Well, I'm probably sitting like many people thinking to myself, is this just a question of government leaking figures to see what the reaction is from the general public, to see if they can actually just get away with the figures that are being bandied around in the press? Because there's no official announcement. So they can always deny, you know, it hasn't come from official sources. It's just rumours, etc., and everything else. But you see it every day with various things coming in through the press that we shouldn't really sort of like be discussing. But they're thrown out, figures are thrown out, ideas are thrown out, and there's nothing official.
Mm-hmm. And there's a process to it. Little comments are made. You know, the comments about the mansions on the hill that Michael referenced to, you know, that was back a few weeks ago. That's floated out there. Maybe the same comments made 4 weeks later, and they've got teams of people to analyse then what the public reaction is 4 weeks down the line. I mean, there's a strategy here. I mean, we'd be, I think, very naive, Terry, to think that this is all happening by accident.
I completely agree. You know, Michael's far more articulate on the subject than my good self. And the work that they've done to get us this far, unbelievable. But it's now just a question of what happens this time next week when it actually comes to an announcement.
Well, I think it's all packaged up and it's announced nationally, and 90% of the population of this country would go, you know what, the government's fairly moved there. That's not a bad scheme. And then that's that.
Yeah, but you're looking at, in the last week or so, the sort of like comments from our local minister in Calne. It's gone from, I'm supporting 100% to, oh, it'll be a significant change to the scheme. So the wording's changed, the language changed. And so you think to yourself, as you say, originally comments were being made, it was floated out, etc. Everyone's getting behind it. And then you see these little changes in how they're promoting it now, and you think, well, what are we going to get?
Yeah, well, there's also a thing, and I'm not mentioning anyone in particular, that there is different language used on a local level to a national level.
Yes, yeah, because obviously they're reliant on local support to be getting back into office. On a national level, they're not.
Do you think this will be enough to, if it is, and listen, we can only go by what's being leaked, do you think people would lose their seats over this?
Yes, and I hope they do. I really do, because, you know, you either stand with the people that you're paid to represent and you back them 100%, or what are you doing?
I mean, there's a great responsibility, forgetting about money and everything else for a moment, Terry, there's a great responsibility for you to put yourself before the people and for them to leave their houses and to put their trust in you with a vote, and then for you to sort of follow through on that. You know, there's a great responsibility to stand with those people and to fully support the people that put their faith in you. And that's something I think is a little bit lost in politics nowadays.
You're 100% right. Absolutely. And that's all you want. You want the people that are representing you to actually represent you, represent what the people want and need in order to get on. You know, how many more years now? This is another year lost for people wanting to get their houses fixed. And now an announcement. And if you go by what's being leaked, the housing authorities are going to take over from Donegal County Council. So will that mean a transfer of everything from A to B? That's going to take us time to set up our admin. It'll be Easter before we get that up and running. then it's, our own engineers are going to assess the property. So the money we've already splashed out on our engineers and reports being put in, are they going to now be put to one side and say, well, actually, we'll have to reassess what you've put into us? Are we going to get that kicked down the road again? So everyone's in limbo until this announcement. But when they're leaking figures, and as Michael was saying, certain ideas were actually discussed by themselves with government, with their representatives. And so when that gets mentioned in what's getting leaked, obviously someone high up's been sort of like given the information.
Look, if you were if I was advising them what to do, this is exactly what you advise them to do. You would say, this is what we're putting together is not for the Mica affected, but for the general population. This is going to play well with the public. Get it out there today. The likes of Michael and others will come on and they'll huff and puff, and then we'll announce it, and say that this is not acceptable and blah. That's not what I would describe what they're doing. I'm saying what these people might describe what they're doing, and then we'll announce it, and then to the vast majority of the country, we'll look like we've done something really good here. It'll go off the agenda nationally. It'll not be written in the national papers or any national press any longer, and it will just go away. And we'll have scored a win with 90% of the population, or maybe 70% of the population, completely unaffected by this.
I see that was where you're coming from. The flip side of that coin is, of course, the protests can keep going. It can keep being put into the public eye, with social media, Twitter and everything.
But to continue my point, Terry, and I get where you're coming from, and we're only sort of, speculating here. Yeah, there was a lot of support for the protests previously because of what was, to be clear, was such a horrendous situation. Would that support still be there on a national scale after the announcement of what many people who don't understand this crisis might feel to be a fair enough scheme? Do you know what I mean? That's.
Oh, there'll be people sitting indoors thinking, "Oh, look what they've got now." I know exactly what you're saying, but the flip side is they don't know until they see the affected houses.
Yeah.
It's all well and good reading a story in the press or having a look at the videos, but actually talk to the people affected.
I was lying in bed last night. It was horrendously windy and rainy, and the rain was being driven into the side of the house. And I was just thinking of people in their micro-affected homes, that being driven right into those cracks. And I'm not sure how it works, if it works like this, but this is how it was going around in my head. And, we've a frost forecast for Wednesday, and I'm just thinking of that water deep into the blockwork of the house, and then freezing and exacerbating the cracks and the problems and the creaking. And that's just the start of it. That could just be the start of another disastrous winter for these people. It's just terrible.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as everyone else. But with the external cracks, water comes through, sits in the cavity with nowhere to go. And then, of course, what you've got then is the damp comes back through into your inner leaf and starts raising up the wall.
Right,
so you've then got damp 3-4 foot up of the wall inside. It starts getting nice and flaky and causes its own little fluff. That's got to be cleaned off, scrubbed out. And it's a never-ending cycle because you can fill the gaps with silicone, with filler, everything. But it still keeps coming. It still keeps coming. They get wider. And we're all in the same boat. All we want is an answer. And how do we move forward? And please God, we get the 100%.
All right, listen, thanks for your view this morning. I appreciate it greatly. I really do. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. Thank you, Greg.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, Terry. 086 60 25,000. Your WhatsApps and texts to that number, or give us a call, 074 91 25,000.
Winter is coming. Get your tyres winter ready. Call into Ulster Tyres in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet today.
Residential property owners. The deadline for submitting your local property tax return to Revenue is the 7th of November. Before submitting your return, you need to determine the market value of your property. The easiest way to submit your return is online at revenue.ie. If you need help, you can call Revenue on 01 738 3626. Don't miss the November 7th deadline. Submit your local property tax return today.
It's that time of year again. Long evenings, low temperatures and slippery roads. So for your free tyre check, call Donegal Tyres. They have all you need in stock. Winter or all-season tyres, or especially for wet Irish conditions, the latest generation Uniroyal, the rain tyre. Experience the difference. Call Donegal Tyres, Donegal Town. Phone 97 21482 or see donegaltyres.com.
Show your appreciation for Donegal business this Christmas with Buy Donegal. Visit buydonegal.com to see a host of participating businesses and special offers to start your shopping list. To get involved, buy a product or service from a Donegal business and share on social media. Buy Donegal takes place from the 5th of November to the 31st of December. For more, visit buydonegal.com.
The all-new Hyundai Tucson is Ireland's best-selling car this year. Now available in diesel, hybrid and plug-in hybrid. Test drive Ireland's best-selling car for yourself at the Hyundai 221 Open Weekend, November 6th and 7th.
Your local dealer is Divers Hyundai, Canal Road, Letterkenny. Call 9122600.
Now, a few texts in. I was at the Waterboys last night. It was a very disappointing night. It was in no way the fault of the promoter. It was purely down to the prima donna behaviour of the band. Another, Greg, can you please interview Michael Scott of the Waterboys, who destroyed what was going to be a fantastic gig last night, please? No words can express the disappointment felt by the thousands who waited and waited and waited for his disgusting no-show in Gweedore. That's how they've described it. Now, I watched the video of him on stage, and he was sitting down at his keyboard, and then got up and claimed that and I'm paraphrasing here, that the keyboard was out of tune and he couldn't do it. And then I think he said something about, sound and engineers had to get the sound correct. But later, it was blamed on health and safety. Charlie, good morning to you. Sorry, Caroline, you'll have to put Charlie through. Charlie, good morning to you.
Greg, how are you? Good,
I'm all right. I'm all right. Like, as I say, from the videos I saw, it didn't seem to be about the weather or what have you. It seemed to be more about, I don't like the sound of this gear, I can't do this concert. A tweet later blamed health and safety. You were at it. What did you see?
Yeah, I saw, I suppose, look at a good warm-up act. Our own neighbours and friends, Clan McCreary, went up and played at it. And, they played their part for 30 minutes. Didn't seem to be any issues, got the crowd going. And then Mike Scott came on his own, started on the keyboards, and the rest of the band joined them, and probably halfway, maybe quarter way through that song, he started, a bit of colourful language, shall we say, and said that the keyboards weren't working, that he couldn't carry on with the gig because of the tuning, or with that song because of the tuning, and he quickly left the stage. Technicians started doing a bit of work. There wasn't a huge amount of work now going on, to be fair, that we could see, and people just took out the opportunity of, again, going out for beers and tea and whatever else, and there was a bit of space then, probably maybe 40 minutes, and Shane Barr, the promoter, took leadership, came back onto the stage and explained that he had talks with Mike Scott backstage, and that he had said he wasn't going to carry on with the gig because of high winds, was the term that was used then, and you just could not sense those high winds in the marquee at all.
Yeah, and in a tweet then they said, tonight's show in Gweedore has had to be cancelled for health and safety reasons and power supply problems. So is it an out-of-tune keyboard? Is it the wind? Or is it power supply problems? There didn't seem to be any power cuts for the warm-up band, and certainly didn't seem to be any power cuts while they were up on stage. Like, was it very windy in the tent?
No, it wasn't windy in the tent at all. You could have been in a building. It would be the same as if you were in the community centre in Letterkenny, or any venue that's large. You didn't sense that. Now we went out for refreshments during one of the breaks, and yes, when you went outside, you went, oh, it's a bit stormy here, but the gig was not outside.
But look, if you're running a festival in Gweedore, or in West Donegal, or anywhere for that matter, this is not one of the gazebos that you buy out of a catalogue shop or something. This is erected and left as secure as a building. It just happens to be a temporary space, but it's not by any means flapping walls and the roof going up and down like people would be used to with their sort of domestic type of a gazebo.
Not at all. This is a high quality, high top marquee. And Shane Barr, the promoter, had said that on stage. They were in constant contact throughout. What the suppliers of that, they would have been on site as well, and they would have had to keep them informed as to the safety of the big top. So I think what happens, obviously, and too often, is once health and safety is rolled out, it's final whistle, unfortunately. And we're not to know. I mean, the easy thing, we're only hearing Shane's part of the story, and I think that's the one that has to be protected. That would be, I suppose what I'm most interested in, that here was a guy that, an early career as a young promoter, putting that early career on the line, taking a huge risk, and, the gigs that he had on last week with Picture This and this week with the Waterboys, high risk during COVID, coming out of COVID, and, whatever the causes are, and Mike Scott's a human like the rest of us. Maybe he was having a bad day, maybe there's other issues at play, and maybe that will come out as well. But the danger of the language early on is that's the important part. If you're going to roll out health and safety, it nearly suggests that it wasn't a safe venue. And believe me, Greg.
Yeah, but if you're see, I get where you're coming from, Charlie, and you can finish your point there. But listen, like the fella's a musician. He's not a health and safety expert. He's not one of the engineers. He was sitting at his keyboard. He didn't like the sound of it or how things were going, and he stood up, walked around the stage, talked into the mic, and walked off. Right. There was no reference to power supply, which I presume if there was a problem with the power supply, well, would he have known about it to begin with, or he would have referenced that? In terms of, other elements, that was not referenced. He was not happy with the sound that he was making, and he got up and walked off. It was retrospectively, the round peg of that was pushed into the square hole of health and safety unless there's something going on that I haven't seen.
Yeah, that's right, or that none of us had seen. But bearing in mind, a band had played, right up to 10 minutes before he had come on. A band had played for the previous 30, 40 minutes, and there didn't seem to be any issues with power or with tuning or anything else. So, you just have to sort of say what you've seen and that's sort of it. So, first of all, it was tuning of the piano. And you're kind of thinking, my God, the guy that was tuning the piano is in a bit of a spot now, because that's the only thing that was referred to. There was no reference to power. And of course, these bands would be doing sound checks for hours and up to maybe an hour before the gig or earlier in the day. So all of that would have been marched out. But look, we don't know. We weren't, neither of us were in on the conversation between Mike Scott and Shane, but you would just hope that, the event isn't solid, that it's not seen as being something that.
Do you know what might be solid though?
Well
might be solid though is other musicians might not be happy about this, because we've been carrying on this program and elsewhere for 19 odd months. On how unfair it was that artists weren't able to get out there and perform, and to see their fans and entertain their fans and make some money at the same time. And yet here we have an example of one of the bigger bands in the Republic. Getting that opportunity and seemingly for no initial reason other than the keyboard being out of tune, just walk off the stage. Now, as I say, obviously, subsequent to that, there was power supplies and health and safety mentioned. We've reached out to the Waterboys and the reps, and also the promoter who you've referenced to get that side of things. But as you say, I don't think this plays badly for the promoter personally, other than. They've it's out of their control. What can they do?
Yeah, and I think it's about perspective as well. It was disappointing, but how disappointing is it compared to what you've just spoken about beforehand there with the guys from the mic? I think it's disappointing, but I think it could easily be fixed as well. Maybe they give them a date along with the same promoter runs Salt later on in the summer. Maybe that could be something. But you're absolutely right. I mean, we've heard the industry talk about how difficult it was for 2 years. It's also difficult for promoters. And here's a promoter up and coming, in West Donegal, where we need it as much, if not more, than anywhere else. He rolls up, and for anybody to make the comments and some of the tweets that were coming out afterwards to suggest, and the first tweet out was, we will reschedule at a safe venue, as if it wasn't a safe venue. It was safe to us as, people attending the concert, and it seemed to be safe to the band that had just left the stage 10 minutes beforehand. So that kind of needs to be, I suppose, clarified, as you rightly say, for future gigs, but also to protect the promoter, because we need promoters, we need people with courage and bravery and leadership that are doing the things that, young Shane and the crew, and you take there's a wider implication here, Greg. There's hospitality and tourism. There wasn't a hotel bed in West Donegal for both weekends, and at the end of October, you went into restaurants, there were packed petrol stations. I mean, the impact of this would have had millions and millions of turnover.
I wonder what I get you. I wonder what the rest of the band thought, because they seem to have been taken, as I say, from the video I've seen, they were taken by surprise by the decision. But anyway.
We really wouldn't have seen that now,
I think it's important. I think it's important for festivals like this, though, that the message doesn't go out. It won't go out from me or you, but certainly maybe on the Waterboys on their Twitter or their band members' Twitter, that other bands might be approached to play gigs in this part of the world, and they'll go, well, the Waterboys didn't feel safe and they left. We're not going up there. That would be something that needs to be addressed here. And I think maybe Mike or whomever controls that Twitter account could. Yeah, but do you know what I'm just saying? That there could be reputational damage at an industry level, not as a not on the level that we're talking about, Charlie.
That's right. But look, there's ways around that, and the clue is in the Wild Atlantic Way. It's a venue. It's a venue that's up there temporary. It doesn't matter when it's up, but nobody puts up a tent nowadays with the risk of it being a health and safety risk to those who are at it, either on stage or down below. So it's important, I suppose, that's clarified, and whatever the issues might have been there is sort of raised and sorted out. But I think we need to circle the promoter here and protect Tom and them, because it's just too much advantage to
right. Well, look, we've reached out to all involved to see if we can get any further commentary. Thanks for that, Charlie.
No problem. All
okay,
right, Greg,
take care. Were you at the Waterboys concert that wasn't last night? What's your view? 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps or texts, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000.
Are your tyres ready for winter? Call into Ulster Tyres in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet today.
The famous Holland & Barrett 1 cent sale is back, with buy one get one for just 1 cent. On vitamin D, Manuka honey, natural skincare and much more. And you can even mix and match. Shop in-store or at hollandandbarrett.ie. Ends 14th of the 11th, 21. Selected items, cheapest item 1 cent, subject to availability.
No matter how busy we are, how can we make the most of our lives each day? By spending quality time together, or spending time giving back? However you spend each day with Debit MasterCard, spend it doing what matters most to you. Because a life well spent is truly priceless. Learn more at mastercard.ie.
Sheridan Security, now introducing zero-wire smart alarm systems. Zero wire, zero mess, and a real peace of mind. With a simple press of a button, your alarm can be set or unset, or download the free app and control it from your phone. Call us today on 074 912 6025 and get your alarm from €299. Stay local, stay safe, and protect what you value most with Sheridan Security Systems.
Westlife are back with the Wild Dreams Tour. Friday, July 8th, Aviva Stadium. Tickets from $69.50 on sale this Friday at 8 a.m. Additional charges may apply, subject to license. Westlife, performing all your favourite Westlife hits and more. Tickets on sale this Friday.
This is Quiva Dabara from Throcra. Right now, over 30 million people in East Africa are struggling to survive a devastating hunger crisis caused by climate change. Throcra is responding on the ground by providing life-saving aid, but we urgently need your support to help more families. This weekend, a special church collection takes place in parishes across Ireland. With your help, we can provide the food and clean water that is urgently needed. Please give what you can. Throcra, until love conquers fear.
Right, now, some of your comments, keep them coming into us, of course. Read the Water Boys. It was the worst night I ever put in. 3 flaps open in the tent, gale blowing through. I left at 9:35 with a pain in my back from the cold. I was in Letterkenny before I heated up. Comes in from Trudy there. The Water Boys are not from the Republic, Greg. They are a Scottish group. Yes, indeed, of course, you're correct. But I think particularly maybe anyone growing up through the 80s and 90s into the noughties, they were one of the, a group of bands that were constantly touring over here. But no, your point is 100% correct. Why aren't they using Skype or Zoom for those meetings? That's COP26. Good question. Don't know the answer to that. Greg, are you saying houses costing up to €1 million should be included? I'm not sure if any of them are up to €1 million, but I will say that even if it is €1 million, this is people's hard-earned money that was put into those houses, and they are crumbling around them regardless of the cost, whether and it's not their fault. So just because someone might have put absolutely everything they own into this property, should that exclude them from it? It's not their fault, It's just a bigger problem from them than others. Right, we'll be back with more on the 9 till noon show after the news at 10 and the obituary notices. Stay right where you are.
Get your tyres ready for winter. Call into Ulster Tyres in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet today.
You have one new message. Hi Claire, Auntie Dee here. I just wanted to say a big thank you for skipping my party. We had a great night and everyone was so happy you didn't come. Now you take care. I hope to see you soon. Bye.
No one will thank you for turning up to work or anything else when you're sick. Stay at home and get a test to protect yourself and others from COVID-19. From the HSE, for us all.
Your to-do list. It's always pretty chock-a-block. There's the things from yesterday you never got around to yesterday, and the things for today you'll probably put off till tomorrow. But don't put off saving on your home energy bills. Go direct to Energia.ie and switch to Energia's cheapest dual fuel bundle. Energia, the power behind your savings. EAB €1,926 based on average annual usage. 12-month contract, discounted unit rates, standing charge, PSO levy and carbon tax, T's and C's and early termination fee apply. Valid from October 2021 and subject to change. Verification and T's and C's at energia.ie/EAB.
Highland Radio is ready to exceed your expectations by putting you behind the wheel of the new Kia Exceed.
Worth over €28,000. To win, you need a ticket.
Click highlandradio.com and let's get you on the road.
Tickets from €10 on sale now.
On December 23rd, someone will win that car on the 9 to noon show.
We'll pick a ticket for you live on air and ask you the question:
where is Highland Radio based? Dingle or Donegal? The new Kia Exceed awaits. So get your ticket and wait by the wires.
It's that simple to win that car.
Only on Highland Radio.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. The PRO of the Micah Action Group says a redress scheme with a cap of €350,000 would be very disappointing. Housing Minister Darragh O'Brien is due to announce an enhanced Micah redress scheme on November the 9th. However, the compensation cap of €350,000 is said to exclude 40% of affected homeowners. Michael Doherty told the 9 till noon show this morning that the Micah Action Group will continue to lobby for full redress.
The government do not need our sign-off to implement 350k or any other number. All we can do as a lobby group is to put forward the case what we're prepared to support and what we're not. 350 is not what we would be prepared to support, quite simply. But, just so as people are clear, we don't have a place where we sign this off and say, yes, that's acceptable, or no, it's not. Government will do what government are going to do, and we have to react accordingly and then look at the next stage in the campaign on the back of that.
The Taoiseach is among more than 100 political leaders addressing a major climate change conference in Scotland over the coming days. COP26 is being described as one of the most important climate summits ever. It's hoped a deal can be reached to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and prevent the earth from overheating. But Environment Minister Eamon Ryan doesn't want panic decisions being made.
To be slightly careful, if you put it all down to, there's this one decision point, and if we don't do this, or
The risk with that is what happened in Copenhagen, that sense of real failure and the sense of real loss of momentum. We need to come out of Glasgow with an accelerated increase in momentum and momentum here at home.
Gardaí have renewed their appeal to help identify the body of a man discovered on a beach in County Sligo in 2009. On June the 16th, 2009, the body of the man was found on a beach at Ross's Point. A post-mortem ruled out foul play in his death. Shane Beattie has more.
It's been established that the deceased man had arrived in Sligo shortly before the discovery of his body and had checked himself into a hotel under a false name, Peter Bergman, on June 12th. He was sighted and captured on CCTV in and around the Sligo area for a number of days before he was found deceased at Ross's Point. Items found on the rocks near where he was discovered included size 44 black leather Finn Comfort shoes, dark socks, a black leather C&A jacket, navy C&A chino trousers, a black sleeveless Tommy Hilfiger jumper, a black leather belt called Key West USA, made in Italy. The man is buried in an unmarked grave in Sligo Cemetery and has never been identified. Gardaí are renewing their appeal for assistance in bringing this case to a conclusion. Anyone with information is being asked to contact Sligo Garda Station, the Garda Confidential line, or any Garda station.
There was a 401% increase in the number of people waiting on a bed at Letterkenny University Hospital last month compared to the previous year. 943 admitted patients waited on a bed at the hospital during October, making it the second most overcrowded hospital in the country last month. In stark contrast, during the same period a decade ago, 47 people were in a trolley at the hospital. The INMO's General Secretary Phil Nehay says the high trolley figures right across the country is a clear sign of a difficult winter ahead for the health service. And COVID-19 vaccination centres are closed today across the country. The HSE says its online and phone registration systems are also down. It says it is to allow planned system upgrade works take place for the booster programme. GP and pharmacy vaccinations will continue today as normal, and the HSE says a full service will resume tomorrow. Rain today will clear to blustery scattered showers by afternoon, and it will be breezy with fresh and gusty westerly winds. Highest temperatures today of 9 to 11 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notice is for this Monday morning, November the 1st. The death has occurred of George McGugan Lochanier. His remains will be reposing in McGlynn's funeral home this evening from 5 until 7 o'clock, with removal at 7 o'clock going to his late residence. House is private to family, neighbours and close friends only, please. Funeral Mass on Wednesday morning at 11 o'clock in the Star of the Sea Church, Annagry, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has occurred of Susan McBurty, née Callahan, Kiltoy, Letterkenny and formerly of Barnesmore, County Donegal. Susan's remains are reposing at her home. Family and friends welcome. Family time on the morning of the funeral, please. Funeral from there on Wednesday morning going to the Church of the Irish Martyrs, Ballyreen, for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, which can be viewed live on facebook.com/Irish Martyrs. Interment afterwards in the family plot in Comwall Cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of Pascal Blake, funeral director. The death has taken place of Leonard McKnight, 17 Derg Fold, Castle Derg, formerly of Beltany, Rafo. His remains are reposing at his home in Castle Derg. Removal from there this afternoon at 12:15 to Carn-Owen Presbyterian Church, Rafo, for funeral service at 1 o'clock, followed by burial in the family plot in the adjoining graveyard. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu to the renal unit OMA, care of any family member or Terence McClintock, funeral director. And the death has taken place of Mrs. May McNamee, Letterkenny Road, Convoy. Remains are reposing at her residence. Wake private, family, friends and neighbours welcome. Funeral Mass in St Mary's Church, Convoy this afternoon at 1 o'clock. Burial afterwards in the family plot at the Old Cemetery. Family flowers only. Donations if desired to Coronary Care, Letterkenny University Hospital, care of Gibson, funeral director or any family member.
Highland Radio.
You have one new message. Hi, Claire. Auntie Dee here. I just wanted to say a big thank you for skipping my party. We had a great night, and everyone was so happy you didn't come. Now you take care. I hope to see you soon. Bye.
No one will thank you for turning up to work or anything else when you're sick. Stay at home and get a test to protect yourself and others from COVID-19. From the HSE, for us all.
And you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. It is the second hour of the programme. We appreciate all your interactions today. Keep them coming. I'll soon be in the situation, I think. It's a bit Irish that the builders who knew something was not right with the blocks but carried on are out to make money again on the back of us families. I don't think there's any builders that would have been aware. Like when you held one of these blocks as you were setting it, there was nothing to give an indication that it wasn't as strong as any other block. I don't think that would be fair. Now, I won't a correction on that, but my understanding is as they were being used, when they were being used, you couldn't tell whether or not they were defective or not. Hi, could you please highlight the serious danger that we encountered for most of yesterday evening and all of last night? Even the most horrendous wind and lashing rain, cars throwing lit fireworks out their windows, both at people and buildings. We had one disastrous day. Thankfully, none of us got hurt. But if that's someone's idea of fun, God help us, and the age bracket doing this over 18s, what kind of society do we really have? If that is some of our next generation, fun is fun, but danger is danger. Why not go to some of the beaches, enjoy a display rather than causing total distress to humans, animals that can cause serious damage? Parents, man up. That's really, I'm not questioning that's happening, but people were driving around throwing lit fireworks out of cars. I mean, did anyone not see what happened to that poor girl down in Galway, struck in the face with a firework with life-changing injuries? It happens all of the time. That's so random and dangerous. Let us know if you saw that or what's going on. 086 60 25,000. Another texter says, theologian suggests children dress as saints rather than demons, as current Halloween trends may present a slippery slope into the occult. Well, they'll have to stop bankrolling pop movies that give them superpowers, won't they? Mother Teresa, Rosary Beads versus the Hulk. Well, I mean, like I really don't think because someone creates a scary character and someone dresses up as that scary character that in any way that's demonic. I mean, if they were walking around in garb from 300 or 400 years ago with satanic emblems on their skin or forehead or wherever, then yeah, maybe. But dressing up as the Scream character, which was a notion of some person who was trying to create a film, I don't think that's dressing up as a demon, really, is it? It's dressing up as a popular TV character. Hi, is it possible to put a request on the radio this morning, please? My son's new suit jacket was taken, possibly accidentally, on Friday night in Voodoo after the graduation in Letterkenny. Would love to get it back as it was bought specifically for the graduation. Thank you. So, were you in Voodoo at the weekend? And did you pick up a jacket, get home and realise it's not your jacket? I think it happens all the time. 99 times out of 100 it's an accident, and they're probably sitting with a jacket in their house wondering, who owns this? So if you took a jacket home by accident on Friday night, we have its owner. As I say, I'm sure it was an accident. They'd be keen to get it back. Get in touch with us and we'll put you in touch with them. How's that? What do you think of this idea? St. Bridget's Day is going to be on the bank holiday calendar or the public holiday Irish calendar. According to the government sources, a consensus has emerged with employers and trade unions to name the country's 10th public holiday after Ireland's female patron saint as the first part of a pandemic bonus to thank the public in general and frontline workers in particular. I can think of other bonuses they could give us, like maybe trying to do everything we can to deal with it rather than worrying about when we're going to have a day off next year. But anyway, for now, there's no agreement on what monetary reward or extra leave days should also be granted, but the public can take solace from knowing they will enjoy an extra day off work, college or school on January 31st, the day before St. Bridget's Day. What do you think about that? Would a 4-day St. Patrick's Day not have been better? But anyway, they're going to mark St. Bridget's Day next year at least. I'm not sure what use a bank holiday is in a wet and windy January, but anyway, maybe other people have different points of view, so I'm sure they will. Maybe it's not about the weather, it's about marking St. Bridget, who's got different meanings for lots of different people. But what do you think? Bank holiday, January the 31st, maybe? What I think, though, doesn't really matter, does it? Now, just to let you know that it's back, and it is bigger, and it is better than 2020. It's the big car giveaway. We've teamed up with iMotors. They're based in Drumkeen and Malin, of course, to offer one of you the opportunity to win a brand new Kia Exceed. It's built with all the extras that you'd expect from a Kia. They're always well kitted out, the Kias. It's worth over 28 grand. It's petrol, and it is in white, and it can be yours for €10 or even less, perhaps. To enter, if you want to, you go on to highlandradio.com, you click on the Win a Car icon, and this will allow you to purchase your ticket for the draw and answer one simple question. Now, the tickets are €10 each if you just want to buy one, but if you want to buy a number of them for yourself or for gifts, you can get 6 for €50, so that's one free, or 10 for €80, which is 2 free. Now, the draw for the car takes place in this programme on Thursday, the 23rd of December. Good luck to you all. Hopefully, it would be a great prize. Well, not hopefully, it would be a great prize to win just in the mouth of Christmas, right down the swallow of Christmas, in fact. And also a great present for people if you wanted to personalise the tickets. You can do that now, by the way. So if you buy 5 tickets, you can put them out for other members of your family. So good luck if you're entering that. Get on the website now, highlandradio.com, and enter that competition if you want to. Right, good luck if you are playing the bingo today. Here are the numbers. Well, the numbers are on the way as soon as I load it and press play. Back in a couple of minutes.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday, the 1st of November. You're playing on the green sheet. The reference number is S16. It's game number 44. The numbers are 13, 6, 45, 73, 23, 82, 35, 27, 55, and finally 36. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Winter is coming. Get your tyres winter ready. Call into Ulster Tyres in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet today.
Store and Go Springtown Dairy, the north of Ireland's only temperature-controlled smart access individually sized storage units.
Store and Go offers storage for personal storage, house moves and renovations, business storage for excess stock or filing systems. Once signed up, you can access 24 hours a day through an app on your phone, gaining access through 4 levels of security to your most precious possessions.
Call Store and Go Springtown Dairy on 02871 278 900 to discuss your needs and get bespoke advice, or get a free quote at storeandgo.net.
When it comes to buying a used car or commercial vehicle, you need a seller you can trust. You need Kelly's Toyota. With over 40 years experience and a wide range of models, including self-charging hybrids that are expert tested and quality assured. And with our guaranteed 12-month warranty, you'll have even more peace of mind. So, visit Kelly's Toyota today, your local and trusted source for approved used cars. Toyota, built for a better world. Terms and conditions apply.
Make your next menswear choice at Watson Menswear Letterkenny. From suits to casual wear, there's big names like Rimassimo, Superdry, Penguin and Tommy Bow. If you're getting married, call in for an appointment and get fitted in style. That's Watson Menswear, open 7 days a week on Main Street in Letterkenny, or online at watsonmenswear.com, or follow on social media for more details on offers and new arrivals. Christmas Club now open.
GiveBlood.ie know we can count on you, our community of blood donors, to give blood and to choose to be there for others in their hour of need. Blood donors from Donegal Town, Killybegs, Ballyshannon and Dunlow should attend the clinic in the Abbey Hotel in Donegal Town from Monday 1st to Thursday 4th of November. To ensure social distancing, all donors need to make an appointment, so call 1850 731 137 to book your time. New donors are welcome. Visit giveblood.ie to check eligibility and clinic details, because we count on you.
Highland Radio Time Checks, brought to you by Letterkenny Shopping Centre, the centre of shopping in Donegal. Free parking and shopping all under one roof. Letterkenny Shopping Centre, bringing you the time at
10:17. Now, new laws proposed this week will make the picketing of politicians' private homes a criminal offence, punishable by fines and imprisonment. It comes after the murder of MPs Joe Cox and David Amos in the UK and growing alarm among TDs here about their vulnerability in that of staff at clinics or on the streets. And yesterday, the latest one of these protests was outside the home of Minister Eamon Ryan, I believe. Right, the man bringing forward this bill is Senator Malcolm Byrne, and he joins us now. Right, Senator, in your words, I suppose, why do you believe we need this?
Good morning, Greg, and good morning to your listeners. I would hope we wouldn't need to bring forward legislation in this area. We're very fortunate in Ireland that, we have the right to peaceful protest, and the vast majority of people take part in protests in a very peaceful manner. But unfortunately, we've seen a small minority who've now chosen to protest outside the homes, not just to politicians, but indeed the chief medical officers and broadcasters. And frankly, I don't think it's acceptable. If I have a problem that, something that Highland Radio is doing, I can pick it and broadcast outside Highland Radio. I don't think it's appropriate to go to your home to protest outside it. And you've got to remember, when these targeted pickets take place, it's not just the person against whom they're directed is affected. It also impacts on their family. There may be children involved, their neighbours. And I think most people would think, yes, go ahead and protest, but do it outside Leinster House, a government department, a constituency office, not outside somebody's private home.
But this is a bill and legislation to deal with a problem, of course, that is there, but the amount involved in it are very, the numbers are very small. I mean, most people that follow this stuff probably know all of them by name. Is this not a hammer to crack a nut? Are you not satisfied? Are you not satisfied that there are enough powers there within the legislation or at the hands of Gardaí to deal with this? Because the Gardaí are effectively, they're just observers.
Well, arguably the Guards could take action under nuisance or harassment legislation, but it doesn't specifically cover this type of protest.
But it certainly would be worth, would it not, trying it to discourage it? I mean, we've seen how the Gardaí can deal with protests. We saw it at an eviction last week, so we see how they can get involved if they want to. Would you not be at least seeing if them using the powers that exist already would discourage this before bringing in a whole new raft of legislation? Well, not a whole new raft of legislation, but you know what I mean.
Well, it's actually a fairly simple bill, and it's like a lot of areas of law where the Guards kind of, are not entirely clear where they can take particular action. You can certainly look at under nuisance or harassment or trespass. But again, this is a tricky one where somebody is actually out protesting on a public street. And one of the arguments that some of those protesters will make is we have a right to protest. With every right, though, there are balancing responsibilities. And what this legislation is doing is essentially putting into law, or proposing to put into law, a protection of a right to privacy. It's quite specific. There is legislation in other jurisdictions, such as the United States, where this has come in. It has been upheld. And because of this very specific legislation, it allows the police, or in this case, the Gardaí, to take action.
But let's just say hypothetically, I'm not trying to pick holes in this, all right? But say, for instance, instead of picketing outside Eamon Ryan's home yesterday, right, that these people picket 200 metres up the road. Okay, and the Guards approach them and they say, "What are you doing here? This is you're outside a private residence." And they're saying, "Well, we're picketing Eamon Ryan's house 200 metres up the road." Eamon Ryan might get a lie-in, but the residents 200 metres up the roads would still have to endure it.
Well, arguably, but I mean, if you're going to be picketing, trying to make a point 200 metres away from your target, it's probably not going to have.
I think it will have. I think it would have equal, because this is being shared amongst. This is generally being shared amongst a group of like-minded people. It's not like it's getting an awful lot of coverage in the mainstream media or in other circles. So we probably have the exact same.
But this isn't, Greg, this isn't about coverage. What this is about the impact that it has on people living in their homes. I think most of your listeners, and I mean, we've seen, large scale protests, including the micro protests from Donegal, which have been respectful and peaceful. They protest outside government departments. They protest outside Leinster House. but you would never see people targeting an individual's home. And I think the vast majority of people in Ireland respect an individual's right to their own privacy. If you have a beef, if you have a gripe, take it outside the business, take it outside the government department. But a person's home and their family life has to be private. And what this legislation will do, and I would hope it wouldn't have to be used, but it is about giving the Gardaí the power to take action against this small disruptive fringe minority.
I understand that, but part of the cat and mouse is circumventing the rules and the regulations. That is, and I mean, if we have laws already that could potentially be used to discourage this, and we're not doing so, the cat and mouse game would just extend to the new legislation.
I disagree, because in all cases with all legislation, when you discover a loophole, you try to close that loophole. You try to identify the flaw, which is why this bill that I'm bringing forward does give Gardaí very specific powers. And if somebody does engage in targeted protesting outside somebody's house, then action can be taken. And I think, as politicians, but as others, we've got to stand up for an individual's right to privacy. We've got to stand up for the protection of, somebody's right to be able to live peacefully in their own home. I would never have wanted to brought forward this legislation, but unfortunately what we've seen is a small groups on the extreme left and on the extreme right who don't seem to have any concept of responsibility, don't seem to have any concept of respecting an individual's right to privacy in their own home. So this is about giving those additional powers to Gardaí to be able to address it. And hopefully it would be a deterrent for those who think that it is okay to do this.
Well, somewhat separate to it, but looking more broadly, there is this, the language that's being used now is quite difficult to read sometimes, not against politicians, against medical professionals, against some broadcasters, talking about people being dragged out of their homes and their heads stamped on, nooses, just some of the language being used is really quite troublesome. As an elected representative, does that worry you? Does that worry you about your personal security? Is that something that needs to be addressed also? Because I presume this bill wouldn't cover that.
No, well, I think what we've all seen is a growing level of abuse and vitriol from a small minority, amplified often by social media, and it doesn't take too long for anyone, if you're going on to Facebook or Twitter, where you see some of the levels of abuse that are being directed at people in the public eye. The government is shortly bringing forward the Online Safety and Media Regulation Bill. I sit on the Oireachtas Media Committee, and tomorrow we're going to be reporting on that bill, which will establish, as part of a media commission, an online safety commissioner. And his or her role will be to look at trying to identify and tackle some of that online abuse. I think what is important, though, is there's a broader kind of educational element to this, and also a discussion that we need to have, particularly in light of the fact that we've seen in Britain 2 MPs killed in the last 5 years. Those MPs were conducting local constituency clinics, no different to politicians here in Ireland and what we regularly do. And there are concerns. I mean, every politician will tell you about some of the abuse that they would have received online or even in person over the last number of years. I've certainly received it. We've got to stand up for our democracy. It's not acceptable to be engaging in abuse or harassment and bullying, and whether that's outside somebody's home or indeed online.
Yeah, but it's very important too, though, that nothing is introduced that, yes, maybe might address that, but eliminates people's or hinders a person's right to be critical, to question you, to question your election, or to question the government, or, to challenge, medical opinion. All of that. Are you satisfied that this will not encroach on people's ability to express themselves and free speech and open and healthy debate?
Absolutely. And freedom of expression is incredibly important. I encourage people to express their point of view, even in robust ways, that they do it obviously by, contacting yourselves in Highland Radio, that they do it on social media and so on. But with freedom of expression also includes responsibility, which is not to engage in abusive behavior. And this isn't, by the way, what we're dealing with in terms of some of the online abuses is not just around, political discourse. We're also dealing with online bullying and harassment of young people, the misuse of algorithms by some of the social media companies, where we've seen, for instance, young people with eating disorders driven towards sites that encourage bulimia or anorexia. We've got to ensure that in the online space that people are also safe. So this is certainly, it is a tricky balancing act between freedom of expression, but also tackling that online abuse and harassment. And sadly, particularly among a lot of teenagers, as we've seen in this country, that has very negative consequences. A lot of the online abuse and harassment has led to self-harm. It has serious repercussions. We've got to take action. And I think it is a responsibility on us as legislators to defend the right to protest, to defend freedom of expression, but at the same time to also stand up for people to do that responsibly.
It's a bit unfortunate, and listen, maybe I'm being unfair on this, but we've been talking about all of those problems that you've just been mentioning on programs like this for years. It's sad that it seemingly took protests outside politicians and broadcasters' homes for us to also start taking the issue of the consequence of what's said on social media to the general population. That's...
Well, I would disagree with you on that, because the Oireachtas last year passed what was known as Coco's Law, which dealt to a certain extent with online bullying and harassment, and particularly with the misuse of somebody's images. That law was passed following the tragic death of a young woman called Nicole Fox. I happen to know her mother. She lives not far from me here in Wexford. She died as a direct result of online bullying and harassment. And as legislators, we responded. So, we have been taking action on this. We do need to do more. That's why the Online Safety and Media Regulation Bill that's coming in will be very, very significant. But I think there's a responsibility for all of us in how we use social media, not to share misinformation or abusive social media posts, to challenge people who, engage in this sort of behavior. Because the consequences are, it has impacts on people in terms of their own self-esteem in a big way. But I do really believe that our democracy is under threat if we don't tackle some of these problems.
Yeah, this caller says, I agree with the protests outside politicians' home, as they have no problem coming to our homes with their lies when they want to vote.
Well, look, that's a completely different situation. When you're looking for a vote, you go canvassing, you call to somebody's home, you ask them for their vote and listen to your views. I don't think that listener would like, particularly if they have a young family, a gang of people through loudhailers shouting abuse at him or her through their door, impacting on their family or their neighbours. And I think the majority of your listeners, they know how to differentiate between a peaceful protest and something which just constitutes abuse and harassment.
Okay, thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate it.
Great, thanks very much.
Take care of yourself. Goodbye. 086 60 25,000. Your WhatsApps or texts. Give us a call on 07491 25,000. We're going to take a quick break. Back with music. If you have a request for someone, you want it played out, get in touch with us. You know the numbers there.
Are your tyres ready for winter? Call into Ulster Tyres in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet today.
Residential property owners. The deadline for submitting your local property tax return to Revenue is the 7th of November. Before submitting your return, you need to determine the market value of your property. The easiest way to submit your return is online at revenue.ie. If you need help, you can call Revenue on 01 738 3626. Don't miss the November 7th deadline. Submit your local property tax return today.
Highland Radio is ready to exceed your expectations by putting you behind the wheel of the new Kia Exceed.
Worth over 28,000 euros. To win, you need a ticket.
Click highlandradio.com and let's get you on the road.
Tickets from €10 on sale now.
On December 23rd, someone will win that car on the 9 to noon show.
We'll pick a ticket for you live on air.
and ask you the question:
where is Highland Radio based? Dingle or Donegal? The new Kia Exceed awaits. So get your ticket and wait by the wires.
It's that simple to win that car.
Only on Highland Radio.
Orla's driving her new Citroën C4 crossover. She's on a call with her friend who's asking if her in-laws from hell have left yet. Orla's husband is in the front seat. The in-laws are in the back seat. Orla is on hands-free. This could be a very uncomfortable drive. Except the Citroën C4 crossover comes with advanced comfort seats and best-in-class rear legroom, making it a very comfortable drive indeed. Citroën, engineered for comfort. See citroen.ie.
Your local Citroën dealer is Highland Motors, Mountain Top, Letterkenny.
Okay, here is Prince. Unfortunately, if you're watching us on social media, there'll be a bit of radio silence for a while due to copyright issues. But for those of you listening on air, enjoy this. It's 1999. All right, there is Prince. Some of your comments here. Hi, Greg. Will you play the Waterboys for my brother-in-law, Tony Walsh? It was his birthday on Saturday and went to see them last night. So disappointed they didn't play. Cheers, Greg, from Maggie. Would he want me to play? Would he want me to play them if he's going to be a bit peed off? But that came in a little late for me. Apologies. Perhaps we wouldn't have these protests if there was an open, genuine debate about the policies being imposed in this country. Censorship, they say, is rampant. Please remind people that dogs are terrified of fireworks. I have a rescue dog, and it was so traumatised last night. And I was reading of some really sad stories in the region yesterday where dogs were startled by the fireworks and escaped the property and ended up getting hit by cars and stuff, like really horrible stuff. And that's devastating for people. There's people dealing with genuine bereavement today, having lost a loving and much loved family pet. Caller says it's easy to negotiate with desperate people. Shame on Charlie McConnell and Joe McHugh. They're supposed to represent the people of Donegal, not mouthpieces for this government. Well, the chickens may come home to roost in terms of, their stance, the government stance, the public stance. People are tired of Eamon Ryan's carbon tax and environmental nonsense, believes this caller. Families are suffering with high costs. Eamon Ryan is earning a big wage every week and he doesn't care about the less well off, and the €5 that was added to the social welfare was a mockery to these people. Another caller says, morning Greg, just like to highlight our first night of heavy rain and headline today of so much flooding on roads. This is a result of overgrown hedges not being cut in time. Then machines come in, cut these hedges, and all the cuttings fall into drains, resulting in blocking all access for water to get away. How the council doesn't see this is beyond my thinking. And I think on this programme, was it about 4 or 5 weeks ago before autumn, we were talking about the importance, I suppose, of making sure our drains and our ditches are clear. So much for the government's call for controlled management and responsible behaviour in reopening venues. 80% and pubs and clubs didn't check. 80% is it of pubs and clubs didn't check vaccine certs last week. Looks like they were ploughing full steam ahead for a full-scale winter health crisis with Christmas in hospital for many. I saw different statistics that suggested quite a high rate of compliance in that sector. Now maybe there was another study done that shows differently. Maybe he couldn't see the whole of the moon. Okay, thank you very much indeed. Well, he couldn't even see the crescent. The Waterboys' new single, The Sour Singer. I don't know. Well done, Shane Barr, getting the Waterboys to Gweedore in Donegal. Mike Scott from Scotland, far windier than Ireland. What can I say about him? Oh my God, to get such a fantastic musician to let down thousands of people who love his music. It's so sad. In reality, it'll be forgotten next week. Yep, I mean, that's what happens. It's a cycle. But listen, those people... A lot of people went to an awful lot of bother to go and see that concert, travelling from an awful long distance. You know, for people in the direct local community, you know, it's still an inconvenience, but there are people in not great weather travelled a great distance. A caller says, I'm trying to get in contact with Air and it seems near impossible. I ended up waiting an hour and 20 minutes on 3 separate calls. That's despite the call waiting service saying you'll be on hold no longer than 15 minutes. My account is up to €80 a month. My account has gone up to €80 a month and I'm trying to get my package changed. Well, you could use Twitter, is always quite good. Tag them in, AirCare or whatever it is. You'll have to check that yourself. Don't go by me. They don't like to be publicly sort of shown up. So if you are on Twitter or someone close to you, that's one method. The web chat's there as well, which often it shouldn't really, but can work better than getting through in the phone lines. I don't know, other than that, what can you do? They had promised to employ many more staff, but people seemingly, that person anyway, having difficulty making contact there. Good morning, Greg. Just a comment about people not being able to get in contact with their GP. I've had a good few reasons to contact my GP over the last 20 months. Thank God I've no reason to complain about the service of the staff or doctors of my surgery. I've always been treated with great care and a very big thanks to all of them. Thank you, Greg. Great show as always and God bless. And thank you. And it's good to hear the positive stories, but unfortunately it's different for different people, unfortunately. Let me see. I'd really appreciate if you could bring this up on your show. I had surgery last year which resulted with me having to be fitted with a colostomy bag. In turn, there is supposed to be follow-up appointments with a stoma nurse who helps you with issues and keeps an eye on things. It's been over a year and I've not received any contact whatsoever. I have had difficulties with the equipment and I have to use, but I've but I've used the GP and they don't really know enough to be confident in treating me or helping me with my equipment. Has anyone else experienced this? Is there a shortage of stoma nurses? We shouldn't need to badger the hospital system to get healthcare we need. Now, anyone out there affected in the same way? This person has the colostomy bag fitted, but they're waiting over a year with no contact for to see a stoma nurse. Have you had a similar problem, or do you have a solution for them? Get in contact with us so we can pass it on to them, please. 086 60 25,000 and see if we can help each other out. More on the 9 till noon show coming up after these messages.
Get your tyres ready for winter. Call into Ulster Tyres in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet today.
New this week in Home Store and More. All bath mats are half price. An end to wet feet and skidding across a cold bathroom floor. But better hurry, because when all our half-price bath mats are gone, they're gone. Also, all living room throws and all pillows are still half price. And when all our half-price living room throws and all our half-price pillows are gone, they're definitely gone. So order online before 2 p.m. today for next day delivery, or drop by your local Home Store and More. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Already thinking about your Christmas party? At Lucas Burger, Pasta and Pizza Restaurant in Letterkenny, we have the perfect party package for you. You'll enjoy an amazing choice of freshly cooked foods from our special Christmas menu. Let our family look after you this Christmas at Lucas. To book, call 074 911 3404.
Do you want to work in a company that's all about recognising hard work and rewarding it? Then check out the exciting field sales roles available in Prepay Power. All come with a great salary, bonus structure and lots of other benefits. To apply, visit prepaypower.ie/careers or call Estelle on 01 297 1582.
At Hickey Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Caring for ageing loved ones is a very personal experience, but it can also make a wonderful career. Home Instead help older people live happy, healthy, independent lives at home.
Home Instead, to us it's personal.
Contact us today.
Now hiring in the Fulcara area.
You're very welcome back to the programme. Now, Peter was on to us via email, and this is what he had to say. Hi, Greg. Like Facebook, drinking alcohol is fast becoming the reserve of the over 35s. Unfortunately, the old enemy has returned, drugs, and they're in almost every home where there are under 30s living in. If you have a young son or daughter, it's extremely likely that they either take drugs or are aware of who sells and takes drugs. It's that widespread. My 18-year-old daughter knows who the dealers are, and it's no secret. The chances of being detected are so remote. The evidence is all around us, he says. The number of drug driving detections and the increasing number of violent assaults all point to a drug epidemic getting out of control. It's a cheap night out for a few euro for our young people. They can buy their drugs cheap and they're readily available. They only have to buy 1 or 2 drinks for the whole night, as the drugs have them high from the word go. My 18-year-old daughter told me a story from Saturday night. She was out at a nightclub. One of my son's friends was high on drugs, came over to her. One asked her to hit him. He wanted to get hit. Another of my son's friends, frustrated that he couldn't get a fight, started hitting a wall with his fists. These young men are third-level qualified with professional jobs who are from stable families. It's scary. And this caller says no one is talking about it. Indeed. And also, too, we've been contacted by a lot of people as it relates to drinks being spiked and instances like that. There's an awful lot of conversation. I was speaking to young people over the weekend that say that this is a problem. Drinks getting spiked, cigarettes smoked in embalming fluid, all these types of stories. Now, as I say, we've tried to actually contact or find someone who's been directly affected by this. Now, I'm not saying, by the way, it's not happening, okay? But there's a lot of conversation about it. And then when you say, who was it? Well, it was a friend that told me that it happened to a friend of theirs, right? So it's definitely something that we want to find out the extent of, because the conversation out there happening is that it's happening all over the place, right? Now, we contacted the Gardaí and they have no reports of any reported incidents of any of the things that we're being told is happening. So either it isn't happening, which people are saying it is, or it's not being reported to the Gardaí. And we also got in contact with other agencies that you might expect to hear about this, right? Those who might deal with assaults and what have you. They've had no reports of anyone reporting that their drinks had been spiked or they've been interfered with, be pricked by a needle or any of those things, those conversations that are happening. Now, there definitely was one case in Derry because we spoke to someone who knew the person who'd been affected by it. So, it's not happening as much as people believe it is, that there's stories that are going around, okay? And I'm not in any way, by the way, saying it's not happening. I'm just trying to get to the bottom of it. Or B, it's happening and people aren't actually reporting it to the powers that be, which means, it's not being taken not seriously, but, resources aren't being pushed in that direction. So the bottom line is that let us know. Let us know if it's happening. Has it happened to you or someone close to you? Right, okay. Now, the HSE received 348 allegations of financial abuse of over 80s last year. There were also 322 claims of physical abuse of people in this age group. And this is despite the pandemic. The HSE's National Safeguarding Office received over 10,200 concerns of abuse last year, down just 9% on 2019. Chairperson of Safeguarding Ireland is Patricia Rickard Clark, and she joins us now. Good morning to you. No, unfortunately, Patricia isn't there, so we'll come back to that very important issue, of course. A caller says her daughter tested positive for COVID on Wednesday last. The caller took her grandchild to mind as she was negative at the time, but since has had a positive antigen test at home. Grandad took the child to the test centre over an hour's drive away, but they refused to test her as they said he was not her legal guardian. Okay. He did not have his phone with him to call the mother of the child. However, the HSC further advised that they would not accept consent to the test of the child over the phone, that she would have to go to her GP. Called the GP, and the GP advised that the test would have to be done in the test centre and that they would accept consent over the phone. Are any grandparents having issues getting their grandchildren tested? What do they do? Really important too, because it's always been the case, but I think even more so now. Grandparents are very close carers of grandchildren, and that sounds like an incredible inconvenience. Right, I think we can join Patricia Rickard Clark. Good morning to you, Patricia.
Good morning, Greg.
Chairperson of Safeguarding Ireland, obviously, and as you were being put through, I was talking of the 10,200 concerns of abuse last year. I suppose, is it good that these are being reported so we can get a handle on it? But of course, if there's this level of reporting going on, it points to a significant problem, which is incredibly negative.
Indeed, and indeed we have a bigger problem than those figures indicate. Last year the figures were 11,250, and even then they were not the full figures. So if I could explain, this year because of COVID and because of 2020 because of COVID and because of redeployment of staff or the services being closed, the figures then, there was obviously a fall off in reporting of cases. Also, of course, these are figures limited to HSE services, and Safeguarding Ireland commissioned a Red C poll in 2020 which indicated that 12% of adults had experienced abuse in the previous 6 months, and 1/3 said that they had reported ever experienced abuse. So the figures are the actual figures are much higher. This is only the tip of the iceberg, and these are only the figures reported annually to the HSE safeguarding teams. So it doesn't include services that have no contracts or whatever with the HSE, and even within the HSE services, it's limited mainly to people with disability or older people, but very low in terms of primary care and other services.
So in what settings are these incidences happening that are being reported then?
Well, I mean, the highest figure level of abuse, type of abuse, is psychological abuse or coercive control. That's high amongst all groupings. So they give the figures in terms of the 18 to 64-year-old, the 65 plus, and then the over 80s. And those figures are high. And again, Safeguarding Ireland would have done a poll in 2019 on coercive control and found extremely high figures again.
Yeah, but are these happening in residential settings?
Mainly the figures for the under 65s are mainly in residential settings where you have people with disabilities, mainly peer-on-peer abuse. But for the older age group, it's the over 65s, its immediate family members are over 50% of the perpetrators of abuse, and if you add in other relatives, it goes up to over 55%. So very concerning. So these would be people in the community. Now, given that we don't get reports mostly from the community, these are very concerning figures.
Yeah. So what are we doing about it, though? I mean, are all of these calls being followed up? I mean, if they were, it's a massive use of resources. If they're not, it would be very worrying.
Yes. Well, they are in terms of these calls are followed up by the HSE Safeguarding and Protection teams. But the HSE hands are tied in that it is working on a policy which is limited. There's no legal basis or legal framework in relation to access to people who are abused or access to information, or the whole question of sharing information when it's necessary to do so to safeguard a person who is at risk. And that is what Safeguarding Ireland is looking for, is for adult safeguarding legislation.
Yeah, we need new laws.
We need new laws. We need adult safeguarding legislation now. Safeguarding Ireland was involved in contributing to an adult safeguarding bill in 2017, but it hasn't progressed. One of the main features of that bill that we were looking for was a national adult safeguarding authority, which would be, of course, independent of all services. At the moment, the HSE are investigating their own services, which obviously gives rise to a conflict of interest in which the HSE itself has pointed out to. But we need an adult safeguarding authority, as I say, which is independent of all services, which is multi-agency and multidisciplinary. Again, the HSE teams tend to be social workers only, but doesn't include people with financial expertise or legal expertise. So we need that independent authority, which would have representation, say, from the Gardaí, legal and financial regulators, the HSE, HICWA, voluntary bodies, NGOs, and others, indeed.
Right, it's very worrying, the numbers involved here, Patricia. And as well, particularly 3/4 of these cases allegedly took place within the health service. I mean, it shouldn't require new laws or whatever for people within that service to say, you know, we need to be doing something about this and doing something very seriously about it, because the fall year on year is probably a reporting variance rather than, you know, a reduction in this type of activity. Yes. I mean, it shouldn't be in any way. It's not acceptable.
No. Some of these services, not only within HSE services, it would be services that HSE probably would make payments for.
Yeah, any of that, anything that the HSE is giving money to, or anything under their umbrella, as far as I'm concerned, I'm grouping it in.
Yes, but I suppose the point I'm making is we don't see the figures from the community because we've no method. We've no method of collecting the data or indeed getting reporting. So that's a big gap.
Yeah, for sure, Patricia. And I wasn't in any way sort of reducing your focus on that. I understand. If people want to get in contact with Safeguarding Ireland, how do they do so?
Well, we have our website, which is www.safeguardingireland.org, and we've lots of information, and indeed information about who one can report to, the various different organisations, etc., and indeed details of the HSE. Now, we're independent of the HSE, but we've details of the HSE Safeguarding and Protection teams there as well, and advocacy groups and whatever. And again, it's important that independent advocates are used and have access really to very vulnerable people.
Patricia, thanks for your time this morning. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Greg.
Okay, Patricia Ricard-Clark there. 086 60 25,000. That is our WhatsApp and text line. Give us a call. Caroline taking your calls as always, except when she's off, but it's pretty rare, isn't it? 074 91 25,000. Comments at highlandradio.com. If you wish to watch this programme, just a reminder for you that you can do so now on our YouTube channel. Just search Highland Radio Ireland. And give the page a subscribe while you're there if you don't mind. And you can also continue to watch us live on our Facebook pages. Lots to come into the show. We're going to be talking to Deputy Thomas Pringle in the next hour. He's raising the issue of An Grianne Court in Stranorlar and the Brandon report in the Dáil. We're going to be hearing what he has to say and so much more besides. You won't want to miss it. Stay tuned for the next hour.
Are your tyres ready for winter? Call into Ulster Tyres in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet today.
As you start rediscovering Northern Ireland again, we want you to explore with confidence. That's why we've introduced the We're Good to Go industry standard for tourism and hospitality businesses. So you know they've agreed to follow COVID-19 safety guidelines, like social distancing, following the recommended cleaning processes, and undergoing spot checks, so you can enjoy your break to the full. Look out for the safety symbol for businesses that are good to go. Northern Ireland, we're good to go. Brought to you by Tourism Northern Ireland in partnership with UK national tourism bodies.
Homeland Fuel offers, keeping you warm for less. 20 kg Super Therm, buy 5 bags, get 1 bag of hardwood logs free. 10 kg wood pellets, buy 10, get 1 free. Board Namona briquettes, buy 3 for €16. Shop in store or online at homeland.ie.
Take a moment to experience bliss. A bar of smooth melting Lindor chocolate from the Lindt Master Chocolatier. A moment of bliss wherever you go.
At Liquid Therapy here in Donegal, we enable young people who need that little bit of extra time and support to experience the benefits of surfing and being in the ocean. Thanks to the Begin Together Fund, Liquid Therapy can be here for the families who need us.
Bank of Ireland's Begin Together programme supports people and community groups across the country with a vision, passion and drive to make things better. Because we believe tomorrow will be better if we begin together.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Now, a caller says, and this is worrying but important. A caller says her daughter was spiked in a nightclub in Donegal on Sunday last week and spent 3 nights in hospital. Now, this caller reported it to the Gardaí at the time. So if they're saying they're not getting incidents reported to them, then this is untruthful. Or, you know, I know where you're coming from. It could be the fact that it wasn't inputted into the pulse system. I'm not in any way being defensive, but that's very, very worrying. And keep bringing that information to us, because it helps us in raising this issue with the powers that be to see what is actually going on. Very worrying for any parent, that, and for the girl. I hope she's okay now. Right, it is the 9 till Noon Show. It's 11 o'clock. We'll be back. We will be back with more after the news at 11. But here is Michaela Clark with that news. Good morning to you, Michaela.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The PRO of the MICA Action Group says a redress scheme with a cap of €350,000 would be very disappointing. Housing Minister Darragh O'Brien is due to announce an enhanced MICA redress scheme on November the 9th. However, the proposed compensation cap of €350,000 is said to exclude 40% of affected homeowners. Letterkenny University Hospital is the most overcrowded in the country today. 58 people are on a trolley at the hospital, according to the INMO's Trolley Watch report. It comes as latest figures show a 401% increase in the number of people waiting on a bed at Letterkenny University Hospital last month compared to the previous year. World leaders arriving in Glasgow for the COP26 climate conference are being warned they must step up to the plate to avert a climate disaster. More than 100 are set to gather over the coming days in a bid to reach agreement on reducing global carbon emissions. The Taoiseach will address delegates of Ireland's plans tomorrow. There are growing calls for healthcare workers to receive a COVID vaccine boost as soon as possible. 3,500 healthcare staff are currently out of work due to COVID-related illnesses, a figure that has almost doubled in the past 10 days. The National Immunisation Advisory Committee is meeting today to consider if they should receive a top-up jab. Gardaí have renewed their appeal to help identify the body of a man discovered on a beach in County Sligo over 12 years ago. On June the 16th, 2009, the body of the man was found on a beach at Ross's Point. A post-mortem ruled out foul play in his death. COVID-19 vaccination centres are closed today across the country. The HSE says its online and phone registration systems are also down. It says it's to allow planned system upgrade works take place for the booster programme. And the state is set to recruit 100 extra teachers to help deal with major staff shortages. The staff will be hired on a full-time basis to provide substitute cover. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Thanks, Michaela.
Our taste master, Ed O'Donnell, spends every waking minute choosing cheese, obsessing over onions, sampling sea salt, and quite literally picking potatoes. Because nothing goes into new O'Donnell's Furrows, crinkle-cut crisps, until Ed says, perfect. O'Donnell's Furrows. Taste above all else.
You're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Right, we're joined on the programme now by Deputy Thomas Pringle. Thank you very much for joining us today. I appreciate your time as always.
No bother, Greg. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Now, you are using your time in the Dáil tomorrow to raise the issue of An Grianna Court in Stranorlar and the Brandon report. And this is such a serious issue. But people might be coming to this for the first time. So perhaps maybe you could run through what all of this is about.
Yeah, the Brandon report is a report that was commissioned by the NIRP, which is the review body that looks at how the HSE handles cases of safety and patient safety in disability centres. And this report was submitted to the HSE in 2020. And it arises on foot of reports I made to the HSE in October 2016 in relation to a whistleblower who had spoken to me about concerns that were raised in relation to how a resident in the An Grianna Court had abused and sexually assaulted other residents, and that it wasn't being dealt with by management by the HSE. From that period on to now, I raised this with the HSE locally. They did a report, which is called a look back review, which they submitted to the HSE headquarters in Dublin. And at the same time, because of the delays that were happening in Donegal and delivering the HSE the report, I had also met with the Minister for Disabilities, as he was at that time, with Finian McGrath, and outlined my concerns to him and gave him the same documentation that I gave to the HSE here in Donegal. He submitted that to the HSE nationally as well. Apparently, when they looked at both reports, they didn't match up, so they commissioned this Brandon report then to see what could happen. And I've been trying to get that published since then, because I think it's vitally important that we actually learn what's happening, or in this case, it seems to be what hasn't been happening in relation to this, and so that we don't repeat these mistakes in the future.
And what, in terms of the timing, why did you sort of, reveal details of this when you did? Because as you say, you were going back as far as 2016 as it relates to sort of, your first contact. Like, why did you choose to wait 5 years? Was it the expectation that a process was going through, that was the right way to get to the bottom of this, and eventually you thought, well, is this ever going to come out? Is this being buried?
Yeah, exactly. And the whistleblower, when I met with him, and that he wanted to make sure that, and he wanted to do it within the existing structures, and we felt that the existing structures, if they had been operated properly, could have delivered and could have brought the changes to pass. But just through the passage of time, it just seemed obvious that wasn't happening, and the HSE were just going to kick the touch on it and that as well. So, and they end up then when the new government was formed back in September last year. We met with the Minister for Disabilities, Anne Rabbitte, at that stage. And I had a number of meetings with her representative outlining what was going to be said and stuff like that there. And then she met with the whistleblower herself as well. And she fair play to her, took on board what was said and believed what had been said as well. And actually, I understand from talking to the minister that the report actually verifies a lot of what the whistleblower did say to her, and so it showed that it was credible. And she is very anxious now, it seems as well, to ensure that the HSE learn from this and that it's publicly known what they've learned from it, and that continues on.
Yeah, because particularly for the victims and their families, we're still talking around this. You know, and it's happening in plain sight. You know what I mean? And it's of now. It's current, and that's just completely unacceptable. What needs to be done now, as far as you see? And it's not just you, because I know you're speaking to and have the support of those directly involved in this as well. This is not, this is not politics. This is about getting to the bottom of something.
Yeah, and it's a bit more than politics, because that's why I worked away for so many years to try and resolve this and get a resolution on this. It wasn't about political gain or anything like that. There, this is more important than that, and it's about how families were being treated, how the safety of individuals who weren't capable themselves, and and families had a lot of grief and difficulty in putting their loved one into a home in the first place, and then to discover that their loved one was being treated in such a way and that they were at risk. It's very difficult for families to have to deal with.
And it's not just the families themselves, Thomas, and we'll get to your answer in a second. If this is happening and we know bits and pieces about it, everyone or anyone with someone in care would feel, or even the person themselves in care would feel, that this could happen again or is happening. And in the absence of sort of everything being out there, we can't be assured. So, sorry, you were about to go on to answer the initial question. What needs to be done now then, in terms of what actually can realistically be done?
Well, I think what needs to be done now is that the HSE need to openly admit first of all, they need to publish the full report, and they need to ensure that the report can be seen by everybody, by the political system. Because we have a HSE here that told the minister to feck off, when she went looking for the report and said they weren't going to publish it. So the HSE need to realise that they work for us. We don't work for them, and that they work, and their duty is a duty of care to every individual in Ireland, every member of society, and that they have to tell what happened, admit what happened, accept that they made mistakes, and they have to put in place a system that ensures that this doesn't happen again in the future. And we all have to be confident that is in place, and that's the real thing. And as this has been going on, I've been thinking, how many other reports are sitting involved in the HSE that have outlined just as serious as complaints from other parts of the country, and we have no way of knowing whether they've been acted on.
There has to be a flagging system, doesn't there, for any institution or whatever you would describe the HSE, that if something like that, it has to be kicked up the line somewhere.
Yeah, well, this was kicked up the line, and the board of the HSE.
But even beyond that, if you know what I mean, it has to go outside of that organisation.
Yeah, well, obviously it has to, because this organisation shows that it's not capable of dealing with it, I believe, and so we need to go outside it, but we need to be sure that whatever is put in place, like the NARP was supposed to be a system that was in place that would see how they were managing things and resolve it from that point there. But the NARP exists within the HSE, and it shows that the HSE aren't capable of actually policing themselves at this stage. And we need, God forbid, we need another organisation that will actually provide oversight and make sure that they actually are implementing and doing what they say they're doing, and that everybody can have confidence. And which is very important, that people have confidence and that they feel that their loved ones will be treated properly.
But it's not just the HSE; there are other agencies involved in this too, aren't there? In that, and I'm sure part of your conversation tomorrow will be on the role of the Garda, HIQA.
Yeah, I think the Gardaí and HIQA have questions answered in relation to this as well. I do know that the Gardaí were made aware of this by complaints in 2011 and 2012, and now we see on the day that the minister was meeting with the families to discuss the report, the Gardaí announced that they don't want the report published because there's a Garda investigation going on. That's like 5, 6, 7, 8 years later. This is just, it's not on, and if the Guards, I noticed in reports in the media in the last couple of days or last week that the Guards want to, their part in this given full light so that people can see what they did. Well, let them produce a report themselves on what they did. Unfortunately, I think it might be very short, and that's what I'd be afraid of. But I think that needs to be addressed as well. We need to know why they didn't act on it. We need to know what's going to change in relation to that as well. And indeed, HECWA did know about this as well. No, it was before HECWA became responsible for inspection of centres that they had a legal responsibility. But who did they pass it on to? What did they do in terms of passing it on? Surely, while you may not have a legal responsibility yourself, if somebody gives you something that's as serious as this, you have a responsibility to ensure that it's passed on and that it's acted on as well. So I think all these agencies have let us down, and we have to ensure that they won't in the future.
Yeah, and in the absence of all of what you've just outlined there, one can only presume the worst of everyone involved, because why not get it out there? Why not let people see? All right, listen, thanks for that. We'll watch on with interest tomorrow. Just a quick question for you. We were speaking earlier on to Deputy Malcolm Byrne. He's calling for new laws. He's going to be proposing new laws this week, which will make the picketing of politicians' private homes a criminal offence, punishable by fines and imprisonment. I suppose, as an elected rep, was that a bill you would support?
I'd have to have a look at it and
on the face of it.
Questions. On the face of it, there has been instances of politicians being private homes have been picketed and stuff like that. There, I don't agree with that. I don't think that's anything that should happen at any stage. I think a lot of times what we have, maybe the current law is that actually adequate to deal with it, and maybe
would it be interesting? That's what the question I put to the deputy. It would be interesting to test what's there at the moment before we bring in a new bill or new legislation, which we don't know what the consequences of that actually could be, outside of addressing, what is a tiny amount of people.
Well, that's it. Ireland's great at passing laws and passing regulations, and if you looked at Ireland from space and looked at it only as the laws, you'd say this is a great place. But when you actually see what's actually implemented and put in force, it's a totally different story. So maybe we should look and see, are the existing laws adequate? And if they are, why aren't they being acted on, and why aren't they being enforced? And we should look at that first.
All right, thanks very much for that. That's Independent Deputy Thomas Pringle. The most important element of that conversation is the fact that he's going to be raising the issue again of on Greenon Court in Snowler and the Brandon report in the Dáil, right on our doorsteps. The most shocking case of what was happening to people. Our next guest with us in a couple of minutes.
Get your tyres ready for winter. Call into Ulster Tyres in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet today.
At Aldi, we've got hundreds of passionate suppliers all over Ireland. Fancy a tour? To Cork for Morgan's fine fish Irish hake fillets. Kilkenny for O'Shea's potatoes and carrots. Wicklow for John Pringle's specially selected slow-cooked Irish lamb shoulder. And to Coughlin's Bakery Kildare for specially selected cinnamon buns. If they ask where you've been when you get home, just say you've been to Aldi. Aldi, the best of Ireland brought home to your table.
At Smith's Daleside, we have been milling since 1865, covering the northwest and west of Ireland. For all your animal feed and nutritional needs, call Smith's Daleside on 074 9171 300.
People don't become successful by accident. You've got to know what you want. So take off your shoes. Sit down. Reach no further than your tablet. Type in Skoda and you've won. Smile about doing less while some other guy is doing loads. Yawn like you've never yawned before. Smile again about the offers from 0%. Then configure your perfect car and fill out the easy online finance application. It's never been easier to be successful. Finance provided by way of hire purchase agreement from Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland and subject to lending criteria. Terms and conditions apply. Visit skoda.ie for further information.
Your local Skoda dealer is DMG Motors, Clara Road, Donegal Town. Telephone 074 9721 396.
The big games for Finn Harps keep coming, and this Monday evening they host Drogheda United at Finn Park in another crunch tie for the Ballabafay side. Join the Highland team from 8 p.m. kickoff for full match commentary this Monday. Finn Harps on Highland in association with B&S Credit Union Ballabafay, where their seasonal loan is now available. Visit bnscu.ie or free phone 1800 290 390. B&S Credit Union Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Highland Radio Time Checks, brought to you by Letterkenny Shopping Centre, the centre of shopping in Donegal. Free parking and shopping all under one roof. Letterkenny Shopping Centre, bringing you the time at...
It is 16 minutes past 11. Michelle joins us on the programme. Michelle, how are you?
I'm good, Greg. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much for speaking to me this morning, and I think you're doing a very important thing here. Now, you were out 3 weeks ago. Tell us what happened to you.
It was just me and my friend. We were out in a pub just near my house 3 weeks ago on Saturday, and we were only about an hour in when my friend was told by someone that she thought I'd been spiked.
Mm-hmm.
Because we only had a couple drinks, and she knew something was wrong. It all happened. It happened really quickly. We went out late, but it happened before the pubs even closed, before 11:30.
And what's your recollection of the night up until when you were spiked?
I don't remember finishing. I think it was my third drink.
Wow.
I don't even remember finishing it.
And what did your friend do then? I mean, obviously she noticed, or he noticed there was something wrong. What happened next?
When she started coming around to realizing that it was because my legs kind of went like jelly.
Mm.
I started falling over, and she realized, because we were drinking the same exact thing and the same amount the entire night, and she was fine. And so that's when she realized, or someone had told her that
Something's happened to your friend there.
No, so someone had told her that they thought that something could have been happening to me because it wasn't just drink.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, and you would know that this is not the type of reaction that you would have to a couple of drinks. You know,
No.
you know it had to be something else. What happened to you then?
This is all from what I've been told, but it was only about 10:30 or so that an undercover guard, they were actually in the town where I was out.
Mm-hmm.
They found me because I had fallen over. I just kind of gone unconscious, and they were the ones to actually have called the ambulance, and so I was brought in then, and I think I arrived there about 12 or so.
And were you conscious at any point, or were you actually knocked out, I wonder?
I remember waking up in the hospital. I can't remember the exact time. It was the middle of the night anyway, but no, I think I was out.
And how long were you in hospital for, Michelle?
Not long, a couple hours, I think.
And do you know, was there any bloods taken? Was there any toxicology done on you, or?
No drug tests were done. I was hooked up to an IV.
Mm.
Basically, all they did was sober me up.
And flush your system, yeah.
But no, they didn't do any drug tests.
Right, okay. But you're under no doubt at all that you were spiked.
It definitely was. I mean, I went back myself. I was advised by NowDoc to go back the second day. I went back in, just into the emergency room, and that's when they did the drug test.
Right.
And that's when they tested positive for morphine.
Oh, right, okay. So they did do a drug test and morphine.
That's what they found, but it was only, they didn't offer it. You know, I requested it, and then they did it. It was 10 minutes later, and then they got the results.
Fair play to you for getting that checked out. Have you any idea how that got into your system? Were you pricked? Can it be put into your drink? I don't know how that might work, Michelle.
That's what I don't know. We were only between two pubs, and we were in the first one about an hour. They did, or my dad actually was able to check the footage and couldn't see anything being put into drinks.
Mm.
But there was about like a 20-minute gap or so between when we went to the next pub, and that's when we weren't too sure. Maybe something could happen in between.
Wow, unbelievable stuff. So they did the toxicology on you and found morphine in your system the next day. That's after being on an IV and everything. What do you think happened? I mean, what's your suspicion, Michelle?
Well, I had a friend that was working in the second pub that we
Yeah.
went to, And at that point, I was falling over. But she was aware of the whole situation, and her and the whole staff watched the footage back then afterwards, and they did notice a man who they knew, and he looks about a couple years older than me. Just really suspicious behavior. I'm not going to name him, obviously.
No,
but,
yeah, okay. So you'd want that investigated, and we'll get on to you reporting this. But I just want to know how it's made you feel now, because it's an incredible violation to you. I mean, it's incredibly dangerous, so much so that you became unconscious and had to be transported to hospital. How is it making you feel now?
It was really scary after it happened, but it's more scary that it's becoming so common.
Have you heard of anyone else in the area that this has happened to since?
Not personally. I remember a couple years ago I heard of something happening in like a nightclub, but I never heard anything locally happening.
Like, and what was the motivation for this being done to you as well? Like, is it just to assault someone, in terms of the assault being, to poison them and knock them unconscious? Do you think maybe a person was doing this so that maybe at a later date, when you were, when you were not fully conscious, that they could take advantage of you? I mean, have you allowed yourself to even think about that, Michelle?
Well, they did, from my friend who did see the footage, when they noticed the guy that was acting suspicious. My friend that originally went with me, she had left me for about 2 minutes, and this guy that was kind of hanging around us and hanging around me, he was trying to walk me kind of out of the place.
Oh, right, okay. That's very worrying, yeah. Okay. That's something that needs to be followed up on. So have you contacted the Gardaí, and if so, what's happened in that regard?
I've contacted them a number of times. It's been passed around. I know there's one person looking into it, but I honestly don't know for sure if they've even looked at the footage yet.
But this should be, and I'm not saying it's not because we don't know for sure, but this is a very serious assault. I would suggest that needs to be dealt with a great deal of urgency.
Yeah, I know, but
Right, okay. In terms of going out now, Michelle, I mean, would it put you off, or how has it changed you in that regard?
It's just made me really nervous, because that was really the only place I would go out, and now after all that happened, and because of the scene it kind of caused, I was really nervous to go out, and
Right.
I don't think I will for a while. Anyway.
Okay, listen, I'm so sorry this happened to you, and as I say, this needs to be gotten to the bottom of very, very quickly. I hope everything's all right into the future for you, Michelle, and thanks so much for helping us to get this story out there. It's really appreciated, and you've done a very important thing this morning.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, thank you. That's Michelle's case there. Anything similar? As I said, we contacted Gardaí. We said, have there been any reports of spiking in Donegal? And we were told that nothing was on the system. Now, I don't know precisely how that works. We put out the call for people who've been affected by this to get in contact to us. In other words, is it just rumours? Someone says something and then it's said and it's said and it's said, or is it a reality? Well, Michelle's just told us there it's a reality. Blood tests the next day showed morphine in her system. Anything further to add to that? 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000, or call us on 07491 25,000. If this is happening, and it's happening to our young people, we need to be right across this and making sure it's getting the attention it needs. Now, earlier on, we were speaking to a person who recently got a colostomy bag, relatively recently, got a colostomy bag fitted, and they wanted to see a stoma nurse, I think is the phraseology, and they'd been waiting a year and they didn't know where to turn. Well, thanks to our great listeners, not least here, Maria McBrien in Ballybofey. She has a support group, I believe, who can offer support in relation to this. It might not get the problem fixed straight away, but it's a person for our listeners to speak to try and get to a resolution. Hi, Maria says, I'm available to help or advise the person with colostomy stoma. I have one for 9 years, and we also have a support group. Maybe this person would like to join for more support. It does seem very difficult to get help from stoma nurses. There is only half a nurse covering the whole of Donegal. 1 or 2 nurses, I beg your pardon. That's a silly mistake for me. I think it's 1 or 2 nurses covering the whole of Donegal. Maura O'Brien. Now, if that person wants to get in contact with us, we have Maria's permission to put them in contact with each other. So at the very least today, maybe that person could get into that support group and get support there. Morning, Greg. I listen to your show every day and I'm shocked that nobody seems to care that sexual abuse was allowed to happen in a care home besides Mr. Pringle is the only politician that has spoken about it. Thanks. And look, I would hope, and I'm sure every politician is outraged by this, but Thomas Pringle was contacted by a whistleblower, and now he's using his position to give that issue a voice, and has done a good job in doing so. Hi, Greg. I've been diagnosed with chroma 2.5 years ago. Since then, I've seen a specialist once and told it'll be 18 months before I see them again. My life has changed so much that I'm no longer able to associate with people, as I can't leave my house unless I fill up with medication to prevent accidents. I feel so let down by the system. For the listener with the stoma bag, keep the area clean. Change the bags often, as this will deter infection. We change it 3 times a day. We haven't seen a stoma nurse in years. In fact, we haven't even seen a district nurse in years. I know in some districts, the nurse check in on the elderly clients at least once a month. This is not the case here in Inishowen. They just don't bother. Thankfully, the lady we care for is keeping well. Thinking COVID would be blamed for no visits by nurses. Now everything's blamed on COVID, indeed, and we try and make sure that we bust through that if it's the case. Yes, of course, that's going to affect services, but it can't be used as a smokescreen to suggest that that's the reason for a reduction in services. Okay, we're going to be speaking to Brendan Devaney ahead of the latest edition of the DL debate after these.
Winter is coming. Get your tyres winter ready. Call into Ulster Tyres in Letterkenny and Ballybuffet today.
At McGee's.ie, you can create gallery quality art on canvas from your favourite photo, direct from your phone, laptop or PC. Simply upload your favourite picture and have it printed on canvas, transformed into gallery quality art for as little as $44.95. Click and collect or have it delivered to your door ready to hang. Big pics, small prices. At McGee's Chemist, Letterkenny. See McGee's.ie.
For great fuel deals, contact Gortley Sales and Hire. Large sacks and trailer loads of logs. Also briquettes, coal, kindling and gas with free delivery locally. Contact Gortley Sales and Hire in Letterkenny on 9126276.
You'll find all the best toys at Foy's Ballybuffet. There's great value on all the latest toys, including ride-ons, bikes and Bear go-karts, with new deliveries arriving every week. Shop online 24/7 at toysatfoys.com. Foy's can ship to your door with free delivery on all orders over €50. Shop local and find all your toys at Foy's Ballybuffet or online at toysatfoys.com.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
Okay, you're welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. In studio, Brendan Devaney, presenter of the DL debate. Hiya, Brendan. How are you?
Very best, Craig. Haven't seen you in a few weeks.
That's it. I know. I've had 2 Mondays off in a row.
Well, I did the show on the Sunday evening. Remember previously? We
yes.
might do it next week on the Sunday after
live
the final 2. Live.
Yeah, I saw it actually. Looked good. People could watch that. Yeah, excellent stuff. You weren't here sitting behind the desk though, were you?
I couldn't take that seat.
Yeah, you could.
That's
Everyone's in this seat.
I was actually sitting here.
I know, I saw you. I was thinking, can't
think of me a man's seat there. Not yet, anyway. I might someday.
I'll say, no bother to you. Come here. The DL debate is on tonight. Tell us what's on the show tonight.
Yeah, well, obviously, first and foremost, history at the weekend. Dunloe was supposed picking the first ever hurling title up in the juniors at O'Donnell Park, and then St Eunan's, who were complete underdogs into the game, well beaten last year by Setanta, and no one could get near Setanta in the group stages in the championship, and they just looked on a different level. But yet these things happen. A phenomenal performance. Eugene Organ and his crew had the team brilliantly set up.
There's not a changing of the guard just yet, though, is there?
I suppose that first 49 years, funny, I took Paddy Flood up the house last night. Paddy's like Mr. Hurling in St. Eunan's, to give us the history of what, from the start where he was to the build up to this, Greg. So at a time when there was no hurling in St. Eunan's, to a time when most of the players were from outside the town, coming in for different work and what have you. But then they started to build from underage a group of young players that could be local and could challenge, and slowly they built up from the lower grades right through and to be senior champions. It's a massive achievement, Greg, and not expected.
Yeah, what is it down to though? Is it like a bit of success leading to more success, or is it just getting the right people in there that believe that they can? I don't know.
I think you just got to keep building.
Yeah,
obviously from the underage, when you take it back from that time, I think Paddy says it was around about say 94 that they started to get hurling going again. I mean, if you're coming from no underage, no one playing hurling, and then say because of Letterkenny, I suppose there's loads of people coming from different jobs and what have you, coming from maybe hurling places, and they probably give it a bit of a lift, but that's not sustainable. Greg, you need
because that's true in flow, isn't it? That's those people will move in and out. So
yeah,
you need
exactly.
You need all right, okay.
So he gave me a good history lesson last night, and I loved his enthusiasm. Obviously, he's part of the backroom team as well. There, they've a huge backroom team there, as all these big sides do. Matthew McCoggan, Ronnie Hanley, fellas like that, Ronan Steed doing physio, Keenan Wardy plays with Donegal footballers, doing a bit of S&C and that. So fair play to all involved.
Right, so you're right across that. You've got Paddy Flood, Sean McVeigh, Paul Campbell.
Yeah, Paul Campbell's a Setanta man, obviously a previous winner. He would have contributed last year a good bit, Greg. The hurling championship have been a bit fractured this year. It was off, and then there was a huge break in that. So it's been difficult to kind of get a hold of it until we're right up now to the final. So it'd be interesting to get Paul's view on what happened to Setanta. People talking about complacency and different things, but I think last year Setanta won the final against St. Eunan's very easily, and everyone was just thinking it'll be the same again, but that's not how sport is.
Yeah, it's actually going to be an interesting conversation because it's about the sport as much as about individual success within it. So I think that's going to be very interesting. Alan Foley, sports editor with Iconic Media Group, talking about football and the new rules and regulations. Where are we at in relation to that?
Yeah, well, he's doing the previews to the intermediate final,
the county finals,
and county final, and of course the relegation playoffs. Myself was out yesterday to watch Glen Swilly retain their senior status.
You got there in time, did you?
At the expense of Termon, yeah, I did. I wasn't late for this one this time, Greg. That was a one-off. And you know what?
You know exactly what I'm talking about, too.
I text Alan before just to be sure if we the right time.
Someone randomly says to me, that's been mentioned to me about 2 or 3 times randomly on the street about you missing that game. I never realised the significance of that. Why are people mentioning this?
Maybe I'm too honest. Listen, I think over time anybody's going to games. This has happened to somebody somewhere,
but for some reason it happening to you has entertained people. I don't know why. But anyway, he's got to that game on time anyway.
Listen, it was an enjoyable game out there. It's tough now to see any team go down in that relegation battle, and the relegation stuff, Greg, has been all over the place. It's gone against form in almost all the games. I know Glen Swilly probably would have been slight favourites in that one yesterday, but the previous games all went with the teams you wouldn't expect. So it's a bit of a lottery when you're down there fighting. It's such a finite balance. Greg, 1 minute you're in a county quarter final, and next minute
quite a shift of gear, isn't it? Yeah,
it can come down to a couple of scores either way, and can put you in the mix in that. But Glenfin coming through theirs as well.
All right, so that is a preview of all of that coming up. So that's Alan Foley, Sean McVeigh, Paul Campbell, Paddy Flood. It's going to be a good show.
Yeah.
It's on air.
On air just after 7 p.m. news.
Right. What's the story with your the DL ball?
Yeah, listen.
What do you call it? The DV? No.
DV's charity ball.
DV.
Yes.
DV.
DV. Yeah. There's going to be a bit of talk about nicknames on the night, Greg, because I was a good man for throwing them out. But Trevor Scanlon, actually,
so your nickname's DV, is it?
Well, I have quite a few of them.
Yeah, but I'm on about the ones we can use on air.
Trevor Scanlon, who played with Harps, top man, he named me DV early on at Van Harps, and that's one of the names that have stuck. There's been a lot of come and go.
The DV ball.
Because when you play with a lot of teams, Greg, I know people generally do play with a lot of teams, but because I played the Gaelic and soccer, and then between schools and clubs and different teams, you meet that many people. So just as a thing, I think in sport, everybody likes to nickname people, and
Yeah.
I was probably one of the worst at it. I was always trying to put names on people. I'm going to have a bit of crack with that in the night. You'll
Very
be there.
good.
Hey,
Okay.
I might have one for you ready when the night's on. You know?
Well, yeah, okay. Well, there's a few going around, but we'll see. What is the story with the ball now?
We're down to 3 or 4 tables, Greg. So just looking to close that off this week, try and get all the tickets put out. So we have as little kind of that to do in the lead-in date. So Bumblebee Honeys, the band coming up, they're from Roscommon. They're a brilliant band. They played at my sister's wedding. So the likes of Noel Cunningham's coming over, and Danny O'Carroll, aka Buster, all the big names.
Live from his live performance on the BBC and RT that the weekend.
We had to time it right to get him in. So Aidan Tierney's coming up. He's a comedian as well, from Galway. So I've a couple of lads there in the background now that might make it on the night. There's loads of fellas like some of our 92 players, 2012, likes of yourself, Greg. All the big names. So we're bringing on as many as we can. So loads of business people from the town. And that it's been great because fellas have just said here, table. So Greg, the easiest thing in the world for me is somebody just saying, give me a table. So I would say, right, there's your 10 tickets, 65 ahead. Come out.
And the thing is, already by buying a ticket, people are already doing a fair bit, aren't they, Brendan?
Yeah. Well, that money, Greg, will go to the sponsoring of the kids. So we're looking to sponsor 21 kids on the night through Plan.
So just attending does that.
Just you coming in the night, you're going to change the lives of them, and so hopefully
hugely.
Yeah,
it is hugely. Like we say it sometimes, not you, because you're involved in it, right?
Yeah.
And you understand it. But sometimes we say things like that, and it's almost off the cuff that 21 little people.
Yeah.
Will have their lives changed by just people going for something to eat and a bit of crack in Letterkenny.
Yeah.
I mean, that's hugely significant. In my view, it's hugely significant.
It is, Greg. And listen, we've got big screens and that out there. Bradis O'Donnell's coming in to help out. Obviously, Oisin and that's coming. Paddy Miguel from Ocean's coming. Steve O'Killahan's coming down from Ocean that too. So there's a load of guys coming there that are going to help. We're going to put up images, wee videos, different things, Greg, just to highlight what the charities are doing, because the work that obviously Cancer Care West and Focus Ireland are doing, everyone's contributing to those as well on the night, because there's going to be a raffle and there's a GoFundMe and all that. So as much as we can get in to help those charities, because even in Focus there, Greg, just looking at the amount of kids that are in emergency accommodation and that, and the effect that has in their life is massive. So a bit like the Plan, the Focus thing, particularly with the kids, we as much as we can, we try and help these people out. And as we know, the Cancer Care charity is doing so much for people, particularly in this area. So that's the 3 people.
Right. So it's gonna be. I mean, obviously, dress if you want to dress smart, but it's not stuffy because that's not your style. So why would you expect everyone else to, But if they want to, it's a great opportunity to dress up.
I'm thinking wedding style. Right, put on the good suit.
Nice long white dress.
Frock up for the ladies.
All right. Okay.
It's time to get the hair down, Greg.
Yeah.
I think we're due a wee
So
night
we're
again.
talking about 11 o'clock. You'll have your tie on your forehead. And just in the waistcoat.
Listen, I won't be doing too much talking, Greg. I'll just be asking some questions and let it come back.
Okay,
so
brilliant.
hoping everything just falls into place.
If maybe a business out there or a group of individuals want to get together, it sounds like a cracking night out of music, comedy, sport, and supporting some brilliant charities as well, and a real opportunity to get dressed up and get on the glad rags. If people want to try and get their names on those last couple of tables, who do they contact, or how does that work?
There's some tickets here.
Brilliant. Okay,
you
just
can
contact
you
us.
can phone Mount Ergal as well. They can actually take it over the phone, or if you just contact me on Facebook or on Twitter, send
Is
me
there
a
still
direct
some
message.
accommodation options left at the Ergal?
Yeah, there is, and Terry Fair Play to him is doing us a bit of discount. Terry's been brilliant as well, and we're looking to get as many people in on the night. He said if we oversell a small bit, he can sort out a couple of tables as well.
You
So
can widen out the walls a bit. All right, good stuff. Brendan, thanks very much indeed. The DL debate is on tonight after the 7 o'clock news, and you can listen back to it and let us know if you're doing the show on Sunday live and people can watch and listen to that. Brendan, we'll give that a plug too.
Great.
Listen, thank you very much for that.
Thanks,
I really
Greg.
do appreciate it. Right, on to some of your comments now. I was the same. I haven't seen my stoma nurse since 18 months. I contacted my district nurse. Very helpful. Okay, that's some positivity here. It's amazing, isn't it, that, we all have our own our individual challenges and problems in our life, and then one person sort of speaks about it, and lots of other people say, look, I'm in the same boat as well. And next thing you know, we're talking about support groups being available, and that's really why I like doing this job, in that it does a little bit to connect people together and maybe ease people's loads. So that's really positive. I was out over the weekend. Not one COVID cert was checked. I know one person who wasn't vaccinated and had tested positive the day before for COVID, and he was in the same venue. As soon as I saw him, I left. Just because COVID does nothing to you, it doesn't mean the person you give it to will be the same. Another caller says, I had an elderly family member who has had 2 follow-up cancer appointments with the consultant cancelled. Does anyone know when they might get these rescheduled? Now, are these the ones that might happen on a Wednesday afternoon? Because if it were, there was 2 previous Wednesdays. They were cancelled. They are going ahead this Wednesday if it's the same sort of area of expertise. So they're not going to get everyone in on day one, and they are going to be rescheduling people. So hopefully I'm talking about the right area of health there. Right, Greg, I'd like to go out for the odd pint. I haven't been out since lockdown commenced. I'm looking forward to heading to the pub again when I'm happy that my safety is ensured. I've noticed of late that there are a number of new non-alcoholic beers on the market. I've tried a few at home. Guinness 00, Heineken 00. I actually like them very much. I rang a few licensed premises to ask if they stocked those beers and was surprised that not only did they not stock them, they didn't intend to ever stock them. The government is constantly pointing out the dangers and the cost of drink driving. I think it would be a brilliant opportunity for the government to show they are serious about reducing road deaths by cutting or abolishing the tax on non-alcoholic beers. It'd make our roads safer and stimulate the pub business again. I generally think they are available because I've been with people that are drinking them. I wonder maybe if you're just a little bit unlucky in the places that you've contacted. I think it'd be very much in pubs' interest to have that stuff available, wouldn't it? Maybe you're talking about it being on draft, and then maybe they have to consider whether or not they sell enough to justify that. I don't know. But anyway, listen, thanks for the text. All right, we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of shopping online for Christmas.
Are your tyres ready for winter? Call into Ulster, Kenny and Ballybuffet today.
New this week in Home Store and More. All bath mats are half price. An end to wet feet and skidding across a cold bathroom floor. But better hurry, because when all our half price bath mats are gone, they're gone. Also, all living room throws and all pillows are still half price. And when all our half price living room throws and all our half price pillows are gone, they're definitely gone. So order online before 2 p.m. today for next day delivery, or drop by your local Home Store and More. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Westlife are back with the Wild Dreams Tour. Friday, July 8th, Aviva Stadium. Tickets from $69.50 on sale this Friday at 8 a.m. Additional charges may apply, subject to license. Westlife, performing all your favourite Westlife hits and more. Tickets on sale this Friday.
Meet Seamus. He and his wife are driving in their new Citroën C5 Aircross SUV to her birthday dinner, which he forgot in a restaurant that she had to book. She married a cliché. This could be a very uncomfortable drive. Except the Citroën C5 Aircross SUV comes with advanced comfort seating and progressive hydraulic cushion suspension, making it a very comfortable drive indeed. Citroën, engineered for comfort. See citroen.ie.
Okay, now our Monday focus today is on safety advice for you shopping for Christmas. Ciara Leahy, food and consumer editor with Irish Country Living. Ciara, well, Halloween's over now. Mariah Carey's warming up the vocals. We can't afford the C word now, can we?
Absolutely. It is definitely Christmas time now. It's the 1st of November.
All right, okay. And listen, you know, a lot of people go, it's too soon to be talking about this. But I know people start their Christmas shopping in February, March, April. And a lot of people looking at getting things done now simply for financial reasons as much as anything else, Ciara.
Absolutely. I mean, the days of us, going up to the city for the 8th of December shopping seems to be well gone. I mean, we are shopping earlier for Christmas. As a result, shopping earlier than usual because, they've been looking at the UK and they've been seeing stuff like market shelves, and consumers have got a bit of a fright about it. For this article in the Farmers Journal and in Country Living, I spoke to the CCPC, which is the Consumer and Competition Protection Commission, and they were saying, they actually have got a lot more calls than usual about people being concerned about their Christmas shopping. Now, they haven't had any reports of any empty shelves or anything like that, but there's just a bit more concern out there this year.
Yeah, and people told also too, because there's a wee bit of panic being whipped up, I think, about availability of stuff. Now, whether that is reality or, we're just sort of whipping ourselves up into a frenzy, we can't allow it to, blinker us or to us to make poor decisions like ordering something that's a little bit dodgy online, but we'll risk it for that's the only way we'll get it.
Absolutely. Look, I'll tell you, it's kind of a bit of both, right? There is the kind of the usual Christmas hype that happens every year happening. But I guess there are a few international factors that has people affected delays and stuff. It was last year when the world kind of went into lockdown, but we actually are still feeling the effects of the delays of factories being closed and stuff like that. There's also the fact that there's shipping costs across the world have shot up, and as a result people have changed their manufacturers, which is kind of leading into delays. And then the other thing, Greg, is Brexit, it has been around now nearly a year, but this is our first Christmas without Brexit. And, basically with Brexit, there's huge volumes of paperwork. If just one document is filled in wrong, a container could be stuck in transit for days a week. So it's kind of a bit of a perfect storm. But from my research, I would definitely think that it's good to be organised this year, but there's no need to be panic buying.
Right, okay. So that's blanket advice. Is there any good tips you can give us then to make sure we have the best Christmas possible?
Okay, so the first thing I would say is, because there are delays, be aware of where your package is coming from. If it's coming from if you're with an Irish retailer, right, and you can see that they have that package online on their website in stock, it's not going to take more than a few days to come. The problem is if it's coming from the likes of the US, China, or even the UK, then they're the things that you need to be prioritizing early. I've spoke to a number of Irish retailers who told me, look, all these all these international factors that I just spoke about, this hasn't happened overnight. They could see this coming down the line, and their warehouses are packed full of stock. But they would say that most things that are in now are in for Christmas, and they won't be getting any more orders. So if there's something really specific that you want, put that first on your list. Like, I think it's important to say there's not going to be any issues with Santa. Santa has the job sorted.
He's got his
but
stuff
for example, if a
ring-fenced.
child has, he's grand, he's fine. But if there is, for example, if a child has a birthday in December, or there's something specific, a specific toy you want to get a niece or nephew, they're the kind of stuff that needs to be going first on the list as well. So that's just important. And I think as well, Greg, from talking to Irish retailers, they, as I said, they've seen this problem coming down the line. They have stocked up, so Irish consumers will not be without this Christmas. So it's really important to support them.
Yeah.
They did say to me, sorry, go on.
No, what I was going to say is, obviously the best thing anyone can do is shop local or shop within the country, because it's just easier. And you've outlined the reasons why. I think people might, for the first time, be buying certain products maybe from Britain and might get a shock at custom charges and all. Maybe they haven't bought anything from Amazon in Britain since, as you said, before Brexit. So, and also another thing, and you can talk to both points if that's all right, Ciara. I think a lot of people too will have noticed maybe over at Halloween, say for instance, the big costume in demand would have been from that big Netflix show that's escaping me at the moment. And people were in such a panic to get it that maybe they didn't check delivery dates. Squid Game, sorry. And that could happen again for Christmas. You have to really be sure that whatever you're ordering, it's going to be there on time.
Absolutely. Look, it's really important to play due diligence yourself. If you're ordering from the UK, you need to check on the website, are they adding excise and duty beforehand, or are you going to have to pay that afterwards? And it is kind of going back to the retailers that you do know what the story is. When Brexit happened, a lot of retailers set up European warehouses so that they could kind of overcome the whole Brexit scenario. So the likes of, the retailers that we're used to shopping with, the likes of Next, M&S, they actually have either warehouses in Ireland or somewhere in Europe. So sticking with what you know is important. And also checking the delivery dates, as you said, is really important. But also, Greg, to be aware of bogus traders, because that is going to be a big thing. As you said there was, for Halloween, the Squid Games costumes, that was the in-demand product. There's going to be more in-demand products coming up to Christmas. And if you find that, for example, you want a pair of headphones that isn't available in the usual retailers because it's all sold out, and you're finding it on kind of a more obscure website, that's where you need to be careful, because those bogus traders know what's in demand, they know what's sold out, and if you get caught out by them, it's not just about a case that your package is going to be delayed. It might not come at all or be fake or faulty. So it's really important message is to really check the websites. It just because it says .ie at the end of an Irish website doesn't mean it's coming from Ireland. So you really need to check, does it have a landline phone number? Does it have an address? Can you get in contact with them if something's wrong? That doesn't guarantee that it's not a reputable website, but they're very good indicators.
I don't think I do a fair bit of shopping online. A lot of it's stuff that I thought I couldn't get, but I think what's happened, I couldn't get in locally, random stuff. But what I've found is, I think. And I think it's because of the lockdown and Irish companies put more emphasis into their online product. You can do your blend of in-person and online shopping, from companies within Ireland. I think they've done great work, our businesses in Donegal and across the board, in sort of honing and making that online experience really, really workable. Really fast delivery, as you mentioned. Yes. The stock is there. How returns work. You've got a bit of, you're not going to be jumping through hoops if there's a problem.
That's exactly it. Irish retailers have really stepped up their game with COVID. I'm going to give you an example. I bought a toy for my nephew in September from a company from a toy shop in Clare. And now I live in Dublin, but I saw that I was like, that's great, I'll buy off them. And then I realised the following day he already had that toy. I was able to ring up the owner on the phone, say, look, I'm really sorry, but he has that. Can I exchange it for this? She said the shipment hasn't gone out, no bothers. She ended up refunding me €5. That experience of being able to talk to somebody on the phone in Ireland, I mean, it is priceless in a way.
Right, talk to us a little bit finally about what protections we have. I think we're well familiar with the shopping in person. I hope we are, or maybe it covers both. But what protections do we have in terms of buying something now for Christmas? Because it might not be open to Christmas. Could we lose any rights in terms of refunds or what have you? So what's the do's and don'ts there, Ciara?
Okay, so Greg, the first thing is, if you buy online, it does not matter if you are buying your summer bikini or your Christmas presents. There is 14 days change of mind. That means once your package arrives, you have 14 days to check it and get yourself down to the post office to get your money back if it's not what you want. And this is really just specific to online because, basically if you shop in store, legally they don't have to give you a refund because you can feel it, you can pick it up in your hands and say, this is what I want. You can't do that online. So you actually have more rights when you shop online. The big thing is though, if you start doing your Christmas shopping now, and something arrives on the 10th of November, that you have to be back to the post office by the 24th of November. So my big thing to consumers is don't just order something online, then it arrives, the package, you kind of rip it open. Oh, brilliant, that's the scarf for Nana. And you put it upstairs in the spare room, only to realize when you do your Christmas wrapping in the middle of December, that's not actually what you wanted. So when something arrives online, take it out of the packaging, examine it, make sure it's not faulty, make sure it's exactly what you want, because you only have that 14 days to get your refund. So that's just really important advice.
And you wouldn't go into, or you might not go into a tatty shop on the high street if you thought, right, this doesn't look right. So it's the same with the website, isn't it?
Yeah.
If they don't have a clear delivery and returns policy present in that whole process, are they trying to hide something,
Exactly. That's what you need to be questioning.
Yeah, exactly. So it's about buyer beware. And I think the key message from the beginning, do not let our anxieties or our worry of missing out blind us to you know, because a lot of this could fall into the scam category as well, and we know there's an awful lot around. We have to beware, don't we?
Oh, 100%. Look, as I said at the very start, it is. Look, there are some issues going on internationally that would require consumers to be a little bit more organised this Christmas. But there is absolutely no need to panic. You know, an Irish retailer was telling me, it's an electrical company down in Cork. They were saying to me, look, the only thing is you might not have as much choice this year. He said, like, they do a lot of fake Christmas tree or artificial Christmas trees. He said, you know, we have loads of 7-foot ones. We have loads of 9-foot ones. If you specifically want an 8-foot one, you could be a bit caught out there. So we just have to be a bit more open in terms of, you know, what's available this year as well.
All right, brilliant stuff. Is there a place we can direct people to get more information, Kieran, what we're talking about here?
Yeah, the full article is in this week's Irish Country Living and Farmers Journal, which is on shelves now.
Well done. Thanks so much indeed. I really appreciate it. That is Ciara Leahy, Food and Consumer Editor with Irish Country Living. Right, before we go, my daughter's drink was spiked last weekend in a club in Donegal. They had been to a pub and had 2 drinks, went to the club and she had 4 drinks there. Her boyfriend went to the toilet and came back and couldn't find her. She'd collapsed in the toilet. No drugs were found in her body, but the hospital said they only test for heroin, cannabis and cocaine. So after that, it has to go to toxicology. Her heart was racing. She was foaming at the mouth. They did CT scans and her heart rate is now back to normal. Can you imagine the anxiety here? I called the Gardaí on Monday to report it, and the first question they asked was, is she over 18? When I said yes, they said she had to report the incident herself. When I said the blood said nothing, could they get them checked for other drugs? They insisted she needed to call herself, so maybe that's why there are so few reports. Okay, we're going to stay on that because that's an important one. We're coming into, I think, you know, more people are coming out and having a bit more confidence to go out. And, you know, let's not let this happen under the radar. Let's talk about it and, you know, shine a light on it that obviously needs to be done, because we're hearing now direct accounts from people around the Northwest, around Donegal, who have had this type of experience. Okay, that's where we have to leave it on the 9 till noon.